I'm driving an F1 car, steering wheel feedback is one of the most important things. It helps me decide when to brake and how hard. It's how I feel the surface of the road. Every bump in the terrain, every wheel slip. If my tyres are starting to lose grip, I can sense that immediately. When I'm driving in a sim, I need that same tactility, that level of detail I have in a real car.
Racing games have come a long way in the last 20 years. Nothing's really changed in how we approach force feedback in all that time. Cutting-edge sims are now so realistic, drivers across all disciplines are using them for training. Our main goal when designing TrueForce was to improve the number of sensations that you actually feel, to put you better in contact with the car that you're driving so that you can improve your performance and that enjoyment of driving on a track. The physical feedback needs to be more immediate or accurate, or a player loses immersion or control.
Game developers are still having to recreate their force feedback from a set library of effects instead of deriving it from real-time modelling.
TrueForce is special because it levels the playing field for PC and console gamers. You're now getting the extra level of precision and detail that you need, regardless of which platform is your choice. This is not just iteration, it's total evolution. TrueForce force feedback works differently. It hooks directly into the physics engine of the game. Games already calculate the forces on the tyres and the steering wheel. The TrueForce algorithm is able to process this data at up to 4,000 times a second. It will even use the game's audio engine and pass it directly on to the driver.
We spend a lot of time as audio designers trying to make each car sound unique and as realistic as we possibly can. Being able to integrate the audio into the force feedback is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and TrueForce enables us to do that. And the ability to send the audio to the wheel, to have it respond and vibrate with the loss of traction, really increases my ability to give that immersion to the player.
You can sense the changing surface of the road. You'll be able to feel if the back end of the car is losing grip.
The first time we had it running in the build, I could feel the wheel humming and vibrating as we revved the engine. Our immediate reaction was it really adds another level of immersion.
The first thing you're going to feel with a TrueForce wheel is the engine note. The minute the engine starts in the game, you will know exactly which car you are driving. TrueForce is the beginning of something new. This is now the foundation for all wheels that we'll produce in the future. This extra level of information gives everyone all the information they need to learn how to control their car better. TrueForce benefits any racing fan looking for a more realistic driving experience.
Because winning is all about feeling.
So, you asked and we listened. You wanted action? You wanted door-to-door racing.
Ross down the inside, he's going to be side by side with Andrew Gillian, who was spoken started in 12.
Oh, and you wanted drama.
pocket, but it looks like Burns going to hold on. He's going to take out an incredible victory here for the opening round of the Logitech G.
Round 1 at Sebring gave us the perfect start to the championship, where TTR's Brady Myers took an amazing win after a drama-filled last lap. Now though, we move back home to North-East Victoria, where for the first time we head to Kelly Country at Winton Motor Raceway. 2 sprint races. Who will take the prize? Who will assert their dominance? And who will be the one to stand up in the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational Series? After all the hype that was built up over the last 3 weeks, we welcome you all back to round 2 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational Series, right here at Winton Motor Raceway. Tonight we have not 1, but 2 races to add to the drama from round 1, and here to call all the action is Jake Blackall and Stephen Sandman Clark. Guys, I gotta say, it's going to be a tough act to beat round 1. An incredible call of the action. How were your voices at the end of it all?
Thanks, Priya. I know my voice needed a couple of strepsils after the opening round. I'm sure Steve and Sandman Clark is the same. I'm Jake Blackall, joining me in the commentary booth, Steve and Sandman Clark. And Sandman here at Winton. Hopefully we need to have a little bit more of a voice left after this one.
I know my neighbours will appreciate that so much. But wow, how spoilt were we for an opening round at Sebring? That really turned it on. And I can't believe we're already here at Winton for round number 2.
It seemed like only yesterday we were at Sebring. It seemed like it was just going on, and every time we kept thinking about it, it was like, how do we top that for this week? We just don't know. We come to Winton. We're back here. It's the first time, actually, we should say that. First time here, new racetrack to the service, and it's awesome to be here at Winton Motor Raceway, isn't it, Sandman? For the first time in what could be a illustrious amount of races that we have here.
Absolutely, we're blessed. It's one of the newest racing circuits on the iRacing service, and I think the beautiful thing is that it really levels the playing field for these guys because it is a new service. There's not a lot of data for these guys to fall back on. So what have they been doing? They've been testing, and that's exactly what they needed to do to prepare themselves for today's race.
That's right. A lot of people have been testing. It actually shows in the timing sheets. It is very close out there. A lot of people have done a bunch of laps to try and get prepared for this event. And while we're talking about this event, we have 2 races tonight, 2 32-lap sprint races, no fuel, but tyres could be the issue. The issue with that is, though, you only have to come into the pits and get the car up on the jack. That means you can do a 1 litre splash of fuel and send it. You don't need to put tyres on it. That's going to be a big strategy call today, Sandman.
Absolutely, and I'm looking to see how these teams embrace that challenge too, because yes, you know, you can go for that short pit stop, make up some valuable track position, but will it hurt you in the end not having rubber underneath it? So I don't know how crucial tyres are. I guess if it's a bit of a guessing game for a lot of people, like we said, it's so new to the service, but that testing will be valuable for these guys, and I think they'll already have some sort of game plan about how they'll approach these races, because yeah, like I said, it's a very quick stop if you're just going to put a litre of fuel in, but man, everyone loves 4 sets of new sets of tyres.
Yeah, 4 Dunlops underneath you will be nice, especially when the track is this cool, and that could play another strategy into it. When the track is this cool, tyres aren't going to degrade as much, they're not going to have a lot of heat going through them in terms of the track temp being so high, so that's another thing we've got to look at. But looking at the championship standings after the opening round, obviously Brady Myers sitting atop of that championship standings after a crazy opening race at Sebring. I don't even know how many times we have to say about that. Anderson second, Phil Sell third, with Burton, Warren, Hampstead, Gilliam, Gardner, Ethan Grigol and Jake Maloney rounding out the top 10. Some notable people that aren't in that top 10, as a matter of fact. There's no Brody Kostecki up there, and there's no Madison Down after his issues in the opening round.
Yeah, unbelievable bad luck for Madison Down. Obviously pumped for the start of a new series, and what happens? He gets caught out by a power blackout of all things. So didn't even get a shot at having a crack at these guys. And I guess the only good thing for the competition is apparently he was fairly fast at Sebring. So I think that worked out to everyone's favour, but no doubt he'll be back here tonight, stronger than ever, and keen to make up for that misfortune for round one.
Yeah, exactly, especially when Myers was saying that Madison Down was one of the quickest guys out there for their team. That was a bit scary hearing that. And we know he's quick. He's already atop of the practice times at the moment. Look at Ben Smith coming out of the last corner to finish one of his laps. These guys are in practice. 5 minutes left before we get into qualifying. And up top, there's not much in it, Sam, and it's less than 0.3 of a second inside that top 5, and I think it's a 0.3 to the top 10 with Ethan Griggold. It's crazy out there.
Mate, not wrong. Look at that, top 20. No, it's 0.4, like just over 0.4. So that's nuts, and that's actually good because that just shows how much these guys have been putting into testing coming into this race and how level it is. Like, that is just brilliant. That's exactly what this round needs. I know there's some people that are a little bit cautious about how racing would go around Winton Motor. But at the end of the day, we're lucky enough that we've got 2 sprint races today instead of 1 long one.
Yeah, the 2 sprint races are really going to mix it up, I think, as well. The opening race, we'll see what they want to do with strategy, and then I think the second race, people are going to build upon that, Sam, and I think we're going to have those people are going to do this the first race, they'll do something else the second race, as well as being in traffic. If you have a bad qualifying, and there's going to be 40 cars out there, so it's going to be busy, and I think that's one thing we've got to take a note of. Qualifying will be busy on this racetrack. There's not going to be a lot of room for these guys to even get a lap. As we look at this brand new cam, we've got drone cam here, and this camera is going to be awesome. We're going to have this during the race, gives you a good bird's eye view of the entire track, everything that's going on, and hopefully we can bring that to you during the entire broadcast, which I think that's a great addition to have, Sam.
Absolutely. We know Luke's been a little bit busy in the off lap between round 1 and 2. Got a couple of new groovy camera angles, but yeah, it's really going to be an interesting race. I'm so excited to see how this all plays out, and of course we've got our qualifying session coming up very shortly, and that will separate the men from the boys, because obviously you want track position is going to be key around here. We know it's such a tight, twisty little racetrack. I think you and I have both done a few laps around here just in the break between rounds 1 and 2, and it's really twisty through the middle section.
Yeah, the middle section actually caught me out. I've been there in real life. I've had a couple of cars that I've engineered on and crewed with in various categories, and that infield section, you're always trying to get the car set up to turn and rotate through that part of the track. But it's one of those areas when you're actually driving it, it's so different to drive. You don't realize how tight it is, especially with a supercar. I think that was one of the things that actually caught me out when I was doing testing compared to just engineering a race car to go around there. So it's 2 different philosophies. I had to put the driver's hat on, and now I'm going to be commentating on it, and I'm going to know that part of the racetrack is tight. I think that will be where it's well. If you get caught on a lap, Sam, man, that could be the area.
Yeah, and traffic and everything else. We saw a track map a little bit before where we saw just how busy this layout was with all the cars. As you can see, look at all that action that's happening on the racetrack.
That's not even 40 cars out there.
Yeah, and that's what people will be looking at, because it's key to get out there and getting a clean lap, because the last thing you want to look at, little bit exit. Yeah, you've got a car that's coming out of pit lane, and there's a car off on the grass there too. But at the end of the day, that's what's crucial. If you're starting a hot lap, the last thing you need is a car coming out of the pits, because that turn 1 is crucial to putting a decent lap together.
Exactly. First part of the lap is turn 1, 2, and that's a tricky chicane. You don't want to make a mistake because you're right on board with Kobe Jones. And a little bit of a train at the moment. There's one car pulling to the left, so Downs had like a bad lap, and that's one of the things. Jones has got to make sure he can work his way through that qualifying. This roller coaster section all through the back of the track. I love this part, even though it was really hard to get around. It was awesome to be able to drive on, and I think it's one of those sections that's just going to be very difficult to overtake. There is obviously passing opportunities here, but you need to set yourself up to get a good run, because I think the main opportunity will be all the way down into turn 10 right now as we come down here. This is going to be a big passing opportunity tonight.
Absolutely. We saw in the main game just the under-braking moves into that corner. That really sets yourself up. But, man, I tell you, I was absolutely surprised about how much steering lock that you have to use through that tight, twisty section. And then if you start thinking about people are making a move, or if they're side by side, trying to get that extra crank of steering lock, man, that's going to be tricky as. So I think for the for the one and only time, I think for the moment, I'm actually glad to be in the commentary box and not on the racetrack, because they've got their work cut out for them.
They really do, and obviously I just drove it for a couple laps and I was like, yeah, that's me done. I'm out of the saddle for a while. I don't need to drive this car anymore, but it was good to get a good eye in to figure out how these guys are going to be feeling at this. We look at Lee Ellis in turn one of the TTR cars, but at the moment down, we knew he was quick. He was, Ellis, and there's the fence. Oh, big hits. Oh, okay, that's his one and only time that we want to see Lee Ellis in the fence tonight. Hopefully he doesn't do that again as we look back through a couple of the other guys sitting on pit road. But yeah, man, that was a big lose out of turn 2.
You know what, the good thing about that is when he did it. It's only just before qualifying. He didn't do it in qualifying. So if you're going to have an incident like that, thankfully it's not going to be back at the shed and the guys have to work on it. He goes back, gets a fresh car, and he prepares himself for quali.
Yeah, that'll be the last thing you want to be doing. I'm mentally preparing yourself for a quali lap and then, lose it out of turn 2, hit the inside wall. You can't do much about that. Just got to now focus for qualifying as we end the last 10 seconds of practice. We look at Greg Pavel for Taipan Esports coming down into the front straight, almost really finishing his lap that he just did, get himself all set up. And I think this is going to be one of those qualifying sessions that we will talk about all season long, Sam, man, because this is just going to be tight.
Absolutely. I'm interested to see the rush out of pit lane because I'm sure everyone's going to be greedy for that free clean air. So the guys know what they've got underneath them now. Testing's behind them now. Now's the time when they need to put down this crucial qualifying lap just to get themselves in the best position possible coming into the start of this race.
That's right. I think track position is going to be crucial here as here comes the cars, the funnel of cars out of pit lane. It's going to be busy. And
look at that.
40 cars on this racetrack. There isn't a lot of room. They're going to try and make sure they can get themselves a gap. And those guys that have been out first in the leading of the queue, they're going to try and make sure they don't catch the end of this train. So there's going to be a little bit of issues going on. It's going to be like F1. F1 qualifier here, but for supercars around Winton.
Absolutely, and you think about the last couple of cars that are trundling out of pit lane now. I mean, they've got a bit of margin where they can catch up to the back of the field, but the guys at the front, they know they're going to be mindful that they don't want to go too hard. They want to have that space, so they don't catch the tail enders. So it all comes down to their preparation now, how they go about approaching their first warm-up lap, and of course, mate, who's going to take out pole for Winton Road Raceway? I'm really looking forward to seeing who takes it out.
I am too, especially with how close that practice session was and seeing how close everyone was in times. It's even hard to call. You put Phil Sell, who we're looking at now, who's trying to make himself a little bit of track position. Just put it down the inside of one of the ERT cars just to try and get himself in a better position. I think he's going to pass the TTR car. I can't tell which one that is. I think that was Myers because he's going to go down the inside of Burton. So he's going to try and lead this train right now. And I think at this point, you don't even know you can put money on. They were all so close within a 10th. It's not like it's going to be down. It's not going to could be Phil Sell, it could be Burton, it could be any of them up there.
That's right. Now, it doesn't take much to make a little mistake around here too. It's easy to get the left rear or the right rear off onto the gravel as we see that Jared Phil Sell starts off his hot lap. So it's easy to make mistakes. And when we were talking about, what are we talking, 4 tenths covering the 20 cars? That's incredible. Yeah,
4 tenths is nothing around here, especially with one little mistake. And it's a 20-minute session. They do have a lot of time to get the lap done. But it's all about getting the lap. You've got to make sure you put it all out there. And these guys are the best in the business. We can't deny that. These guys know what they're doing when it comes to a supercar. And that's the issue. These guys know what they're doing, which means it's going to be super close. And who knows who's going to take it out. So look, I think that's Madison coming down. Lovely camera shots that Luke's been working on to get these done. That's an awesome shot down into turn 4.
Absolutely. It's just a reminder of how much undulation there is. You look at this on paper, you think, oh yeah, it's just a flat racetrack, but you can actually see from that camera vantage there is a little bit of a hill down there. So that's good. Love that camera angle.
Yeah, a little bit of undulation on this racetrack. It's so prominent when you have a camera angle like that as we go through turn 8, 9. Turn 8 at the moment, coming into turn 9, looking at Madison down, riding on board. Only a roughly 2.99 is 3 kilometers if you want to just round it up the racetrack around here. Down into turn 10, the opening laps will start to come in and we'll see what sort of a gauge we're going to have in terms of lap times here. There's a couple of people setting greens and purples in that last sector as they all come and funnel around. Jordan Ross to the top with an 18.3 to open the 10, and then Phil Sell with an 18.0, and then Burton with an 18.0. It's already 0.006, and Rivera actually matches Phil Sell's time. They're even up the top. What's Down going to do is he come across the line. Down goes to the top with an 18.008. They're all on it.
Yeah, we saw 17s in practice, so we knew they were going to be fairly close to the mark, but we didn't expect the first lap out. So that's good stuff. These guys are right on it straight away. The best part is it's important for these guys just to get a banker. You don't know what's going to happen throughout this session, so at least you can get a good banker down in your back pocket, and then you can start thinking about improving on that.
That's exactly right. First lap, banker, now push. Open the gates, see what you can do. Try and push to get everything you can. Wayne Burke down in 17th at the moment, half a second off, and then it's half a second off your 17th. You're less than a 10th and you're 5th for Maloney at the moment as well, so can't really go anywhere without being so close. That's one of the ERT cars off, I believe. It is Ian Ford. He's had a big moment. That's a turn 5. That's a big moment to have an accident there. He was just waiting to see when he can rejoin, waiting for the traffic because he's got a bunch of cars. He might be able to go after this one. He's got a little bit of a gap in the track. He's going to wait it out and see when he can rejoin. But that's the thing. Once you have a mistake here, Salmon, as well, it's hard to actually rejoin.
Yeah, that's right. And the beauty of this racetrack too is there's plenty of runoff. So he didn't have it in a moment where it's too close to the walls like we saw with Ellis earlier. But he'll regroup. It's probably a good chance for him to head straight back to the pitch, put up a new set of Dunlops and go again.
Like everyone else is doing right now. Everyone's back in the pit lane to get a fresh set of boots. So I think it's definitely a one lap, put new tyres on it, go again. I think that'll be the case for the entire session. Obviously, no escape rule is in effect, so these guys cannot escape from the cars. They have to drive it back to pit lane under their own steam and put it in the box and then go again. And I think that's what these guys are going to be doing. Everyone is back in pit lane. This could be the way it is, Sam, and we could be having a lot of one-lap dashes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a bit surprised that some people aren't taking the opportunity, especially so early in the session, that they don't go out of sync with everyone. Because obviously at the start of a qualifier session, everyone's keen and eager to go and put out a first lap. So they'll go out of the pit straight away. But it'd be good if some teams just sort of, got out of rhythm a little bit and managed to put down their lap when there's no cars on track. But like I said, everyone's got their own different game plan, and so far so good.
Yeah, so far so good. I think that's one of the cases. Who knows whether it would be one of those cases of do you put yourself out of sync and then maybe do you catch traffic? That's the one issue of catching traffic on a guy when these guys are coming out onto their outlap. As we look down the front straight, it's all those cars funneling out of pit lane now on the drain cam as we come back. This looks like one of the two of the SSR cars as we come through. It's beautiful. I love this shot. Turns 3 and turn 4. This has to be the best shot that we have on this racetrack right now. Hobson getting prepared, all on outlaps, getting prepared for their second run. Any surprises up the top, Sam? I have to say Rivera's done really well for ERT to be right now in P3, up amongst the big boys up the top, who we know are quick down. Burton, Phil Sell, Maloney, we know they're all fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were saying, it's that first banker lap, these guys would be fairly happy, I think, with those times at the moment. And at least it puts them in good position to push on now. So, as much as you don't want to make a mistake in quali, they know that if they do happen to make a mistake now that they've got that banker, it's really not the end of the world. It just might put them out of rhythm. But there's still plenty of time on the clock. It's a 20-minute session for this quali session. So these guys have still got plenty of time. That looks like everyone's giving themselves a bit of room, a bit of space. And we haven't seen anything too much drama-wise. Ooh, just watching the scene. I get worried about that left rear every time I see that corner. It's like, are you going to touch the dirt?
Myers right now setting purple first sector, so he's on a lap straight out the box on his second opening lap. See whether it comes up. No personal best, just a stagnant second sector as we look at Maloney right now. Burton came in the pits, which was a bit of a surprise there, so maybe he's trying to set up another lap and put him off sync like we were talking about, Sam. So he's actually come in again to set himself up. No one really lighting up the Christmas tree at the moment of who's going to go really fast. A couple of people with some new personal bests might jump himself up the order, but no one right now looking to challenge those top times, which is not expected. It depends on how this track's sort of rubbering up. Vilcel has gone purple in the third sector though, so couldn't see a little improvement there, and he doesn't need much. He's only 700s off the top.
Yeah, it's amazing. As long as you get that purple sector when the tyres are as close as they are, there's a pretty good chance that it'll fire into the top of the tree. But nevertheless, he'll be conscious of that. I don't know if he did improve though. He's P4.
Yeah, Marcelo's on a lap 2, and there it is, straight to the top, 17.9 from Marcelo Rivera. We were talking about, he was one of those ones in third after his first laps of being up amongst all these guys. He didn't really show his pace that he has at Sebring, but now done some laps and got it done, and now he's P1 at Winton provisionally.
Absolutely, I'd be chuffed with that. First one into 17s, by the looks of it, or just very close, looks like down maybe as well. But look, at the end of the day, big slide there from the TTR car. He's off front of the gravel, but absolutely keeps it off the wall. That's the beautiful part.
Oh, he did a good job to actually save that. That could have been well off into the fence, but he did a good job, saved it, brought it back on Maloney, and now just going to roll around. I think those tyres will be cooked, and we will bring it back in and get a new set for Maloney at the moment. Hampstead looks like he just set a new personal best lap time. Did he? No, it didn't. Yes, it did. P11 for Hampstead, so good job from him. Up inside that with Anderson actually taking a rejoin. I think he came out of the pits, so instead of just taking back to the racetrack, he's just cut through turn 1.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, at least he's out of everyone's way. That's the main thing. Now he built himself up. All the boost mobile cars off onto the dirt. Looks like mid-entry.
That's Phil Sell. And he's in the fence.
He's actually made contact there. So I wonder what that was all about, because there's obviously a fair bit of runoff there, and he would have... Yeah, I'm just a bit surprised that it actually made contact with the barrier, but easy to do because you are carrying a little bit of speed, and I guess once you're on the grass, you are a passenger.
Yeah, you are a passenger through there. It was like he was off at turn 11, so he was well off the road before he even got to pit entry, and then made contact with the wall. So come in, get that one, and new set of tyres and go again. This looks like another car entering pit lane. So second set of laps look like they're done. I think the best person will be Burton. I think will be the only one on a lap because he was off seeing Jay Burton currently. And as I say that, he's in the pit lane. So a couple of these cars now all just sort of going around. Another couple of cars coming in the pit lane. A couple of people now trying to put off sync. It depends on if they have a good lap, doesn't it, Sandman? You sort of know when you're going to have a good lap if you can come in or not, and just scratch it and go again. There's still another 10 minutes left in the session, so plenty of time.
Absolutely, and like you said, they'll be aware of how the start of their lap is panned out. A lot of these teams have got crew chiefs in their area as well. They'll have cars that people throughout the team that will actually help these guys during race weekends, and they'll know whether it's been a good start to the lap, whether it's worth pushing on, or whether it's actually worth just backing off and having another go, or firing back to pit lane and putting on a new set of Dunlops.
Yeah, that's it. Whoa, one of the TTR cars with the brake lock going down into turn 7 pan right corner after one of the coolest corners on this racetrack. Turn 6, I have to say, is one of those corners that you just can't get enough of. It is actually really difficult to drive. No wonder why they all hate it when you try to drive. You see them all inside front locking all the time through there in real life supercars, but these guys just setting up Brad Ryan just letting all the ERT cars go. I'm going to join onto the back of that train. Get a little bit of a draft train going on. Not a lot of draft you can gain here, Sandman, but every little bit, there's 2 straightaways. You could gain half a tenth, and with how close it is, that could be 5 positions.
That's it. If you gifted Madison down right now half a tenth, I think you'd take it out here straight away.
Yeah.
So, like you said, every bit counts. It's different when you're not on a big, fast-flowing racetrack where, it's key for the draft and everything else. But like you said, it's not crucial around here as we go on board with Visor Camp. Man, I love this one. And this has been a bit of a talk of the town. There's a few people that have been loving this view.
Yeah, everyone loves this view. I think we all do too, as we're riding over Marcelo Rivera, who's coming down into turn 3 at the moment. This corner really deceptive, has that curve that's sort of off camber on the exit down into turn 4. A lot of cambered corner there. Now into turn 5, it's fast, it's flowing. You just got to let the car ride through the middle of the corner. Make sure you don't make a mistake. But turn 6, use all the curve on the right. Watch the car get up on 2 wheels. Hope you don't get an inside front lock in the 7, because that's usually where it happens. He's on the limit. He is pushing as you see the car get a little wiggle out of turn 7 into 8 around the tree. Then now turn 9, you need to try and set yourself up for a good strong exit. This is one of those parts where you need the drive out of the corner, up through the gears into 3rd, up into 4th. Then it's going to be hard braking into turn 10. It's very deceptive, this corner. It's actually a lot tighter than you think. And then you get the exit, use all the exit curve, which he's done so, to get that traction coming down into the last corner. This last 2 corners, 11 and 12. We'll see if he finishes this lap or he decides to pull it into pit lane. No, he's going to finish this lap, so he must be on a half decent lap for himself. Coming out of the last corner, use all the exit, which is deceptive again. It makes you think you're going to go into the outside wall. Coming across the stripe, no improvement. It's an 18.0, not much off his best lap, but a good time there. Good time to get around and have a look at this racetrack on board.
Absolutely. And the bit I loved about that camera.
To the top, sorry to interrupt you, Sam, man. Phil Sell to the top by 0.02 of a second. The next person in the 17.9. So Phil Sell now's trying to assert his dominance up the top.
Perfect, yeah. Good job by Phil Sell. He'll be wrapped with that. We were just talking about him off at the pit exit there and gone into the tyre barrier. So he's obviously quickly put that behind him, and now he's pushed on and put down a decent lap. But what I was going to say with that visor cam, it just goes to show how much steering lock they put on there. It's going to be interesting to see that throughout the race. And next time we do go on board visor cam, keep an eye out for that, because the amount of steering lock through that tight, twisty section is incredible.
Yeah, the amount, it's more than you think when you especially when you're riding on board, and when you're driving, you don't expect that much. As we're coming through, as we look through Brady Myers, for opening round of Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational winner, with what was just chaos in that last. And that whole race was chaos. There isn't even just the last part of the race was chaos, but that last lap was, I think, one for the ages in terms of supercar land, especially on the service on iRacing. I don't think we've had anything like that. I personally haven't seen that. I know you haven't in all your time of commentating, Sam, and see something as crazy as that we've had. But just pulling over, most surely setting himself up for another lap. He is on an out lap, so just trying to find themselves some space on the track.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? We think about what happened at Sebring, and that the Burton coming out that last corner, you would have thought for sure he was a shoo-in, and it didn't even make the podium. But, man, that's how close it is, and it looks like that's the way it's shaping up so far this way at Winton too. Because look at how incredibly close it is with those times. It's just amazing. The top 4 covered by nothing.
Yeah, top 4 covered by nothing, top 10 covered by 0.3 of a second. Half a second covers the top 20 cars. It's just going to be one of those times where everything's going to be close. Downs on a lap, what looks like could be hopefully quick for himself. He's going to get around those 2 cars. One of them was the TTR car moving out of the way. Ethan Gold moves up into P9 while we're looking at Madison Down. And for what could have been for Down at the moment of opening round, obviously showing his pace here at Winton, but he could be in that title fight now. It's a long, hard slog for him to try and bring it back after the opening round.
As we go on board, he comes out the last corner. He's going to head towards the start-finish line. Let's see if he can improve. He needs absolutely nothing. Crosses the start-finish line, does a 17.9 and goes straight to the top.
Good lap time from Madison Down, 17.913. Moves himself up in provisional pole at the moment. 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes left of the session. And that is what Down will want. He will want to come back after, obviously, disappointment of the opening round of not being able to compete, to now be able to just show what he can do.
Absolutely. He'd be devastated, but I think he'll, on the other hand, make the most of it. Enjoy the challenge that's got in front of him, but he's certainly letting everyone know that he's a force to be reckoned with in this race, and he'd be happy with that lap time. There'll be enough time on the board now where he'll fire back, put on some new tyres and have another go of it, just in case that Phil Cell and everyone else behind him improves on their time.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Phil Cell's on an out lap, so is Burton. Maloney's on a lap right now, whether he'll finish this lap as Jordan Ross moves up into P11, so he's just made a little improvement. That's the thing, a little improvement here. Obviously, Madison Down wasn't lighting up the screens, but he was able to just see had enough of an improvement to move himself up into P1. Maloney in the pit, so he's getting out of that one. I think they've actually put off Warboy behind him. He actually ran wide into turn 11 because of Maloney running super deep, so Blake Warboys was actually a little bit off there in terms of finishing his lap. Much of these cars coming in the pit lane again to get some fresh boost and go again. I think this would be, you might get 2 more runs out of it if you come in now, Sam. It might be pretty close though.
Yeah, and especially if you put on a set and you go hard on that first lap, you probably have taken the best part out of the tyres to continue on for the second lap. So, if you did absolutely make a mistake and got out of it early enough on that first push lap, you may be able to go again. But again, like you said, time could be their enemy.
Yeah, I think time will be their enemy at the moment. Just over 3 minutes to go, so you're going to get an out lap and then a push lap if you're lucky. Those guys on a lap now might be able to get something down, as Phil Cell is on a lap. He's got a little bit of traffic around him, but he was able to navigate that. Let's see what he can do. He's got Anderson in front of him. Anderson is on an out lap as well, so he should definitely move out of the way in the cool drive entry. He does, sticks to the inside. Good job there from Josh Anderson to give Phil Cell the run down into turn 10 to give him a clear bit of racetrack. He's actually set himself up nice. He's got a nice bit of gap in front of him. No one really to put him off as he comes into the last 2 corners. If he's on a decent lap, that doesn't look like he is, so the timing chart is not going green or purple, and I think, is he going to bail? He isn't, so he might have left himself. He should get enough time to, he might not actually. This might be his last run at it, as Phil Cell coming up to the line. He actually doesn't stick to the left that I thought he would. Sandman comes across the stripe. No improvement. Close though, 17.977, but not enough to take off the top.
Yeah, and it's been really good to see the amount of respect that these guys have shown each other. Everyone's been giving each other a bit of room and getting out of people's way, and we love to see that. We know that there's obviously there's a lot to gain in qualifying, but there's nothing to prove. You don't want to do anything silly and balk someone on a lap. So really good to see so far.
Yeah, it's good, all the guys giving each other room, especially around this tight track. It's going to be one of the tightest ones that we go to this season, especially for traffic management, but these guys have done a really good job. But Myers, round 1 winner, seeing what he can do. He's currently in 7th. A bunch of the other guys that are on outlaps around him, so they might get one more time lap of it. There is a minute and a half left of this session. Obviously time, actually I'm just trying to think now, this could actually just end at 20 minutes.
He's made contact. Oh, that's hard. Like bad enough. We were just saying about how much room everyone was giving each other. That was not a room issue. That car got away sideways on him and unfortunately just drilled. So it was just bad luck. And unfortunately, I think that's going to ruin both of them about having a red light go as we check out the Logitech G Supercars replay. But man, he was doing the right thing. He was trying to be out wide and give plenty of room, but that car just broke sideways, and unfortunately, that's cost him.
Yeah, that has cost him, and it just locked the rears. I think it was around turn 8, just a little bit of a slide, and that was enough to get it. And then he's just full anchored on, trying not to hit anyone, but that was it. Down currently on a lap, but I think this session will actually end at 20 minutes. One of the things with iRacing is when you have a heat session, because obviously we've got 2 races tonight, so we're running them in the same server, qualifying usually doesn't actually let the guys finish a lap if they're on it. So hopefully, I can't remember the last time that I've been in a heat session that wasn't the case, so hopefully they do get a little bit of time, but if not, there's only 20 seconds left, and that means you have to finish at 20 seconds left. The guys will not get an extra lap, so this could be the end for Madison Down on his lap, coming to the line. See if he's timed this to perfection to keep pole position. He's going to come across the stripe. Let's see what he does.
Ooh,
Is it
he improved?
He improved. No, he didn't. It was, and there it is. That's session done. I was right. So 20 minutes and it was over. So Madison Down is going to take pole position for the round 2 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. Madison Down on pole, and wow, what a session that was. He did it when he needed to.
Absolutely, and a nice bounce back like we touched on from the dramas he had at round 1. He's come out, he's asserted his dominance. They've obviously had a good lead up to this round, and he's got the job done. You can see the qualifying results are on screen. Madison Down over Jared Filsell. Great run from Marcelo too. He's grabbed threat. Look at that time, mate. 0.055 off pole. That's unbelievable. Jake Burton, Ethan Warren, Jake Maloney, Brady Myers, Griffin Gardner, Ethan Griggold, and Richard Hampstead rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, it's so close up top to no time in between any of these guys. Less than a 10 separates those top 3, and now these guys get ready and get set up as we'll bring up these guys to get a word with our top 2, obviously, and then we'll get them in there and see how these guys feel as we get ready for for round 2, the opening race of the evening. As Sandman, you will be sat with our pole sitter Madison Down and have a word with Madison as we go through our grid walk for round 2 of the Winton Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational.
Madison, well done, mate. You've certainly had your ups and downs for the start of this series. Of course, we touched on a little bit the dramas that you went through for Sebring, not making the grid, but you've set yourself a nice little marker and grabbed pole position for here at Winton for round 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the ideal start from round 1 a few weeks ago with a power outage, and the weather looks a bit suspect at the moment with all the wind and this polar blast or whatever they call it around the place. So, but, you know, eyes forward, basically put a good lap together there in qualifying. Obviously very important to qualify on the front row, especially at a tight track like this. So just trying to put my best foot forward and, focus on getting a good start into turn 1.
That's it. Have you done much racing? Obviously, it's one of the newest tracks on the calendar, on the series, I should say, for iRacing. What are your thoughts barrel into turn 1?
Yeah, unexpected. I've actually not done a competitive race here before, so although it's a track I have driven a lot in the sim with a lot of hot laps, and also done a lot of real life driving here, including testing one of these cars in real life. So got a lot of experience here and had a lot of engineering feedback. So I'm happy with the speed, but a little bit unknown with how we're going to look in a race scenario. So I'm looking forward to it though. It's great to have Winton on iRacing, and it should be a good race.
Well, we missed you from round 1, mate. Good to see you at Winton, and no doubt you'll be pretty chuffed starting in the best places possible. All the best for the race, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. That was Madison Down, our pole sitter for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational here at Winton Motor Raceway for race 1. And on the outside of the front row is none other than Jared Filsell. And Jared, how are you looking towards this one? It's obviously, as Sandman just asked Madison, one of the newest tracks to the service. How do you think you're going to go here? It's one of most probably the first races you've done here.
Yeah, definitely. I've done a few AI races. They weren't that enjoyable. But no, it's going to be interesting. This track feels like you're doing 250 Ks, but you're only doing, I don't know what the math is on that, but you're just working so hard. It's going to be very mentally taxing tonight. I'm going to earn a good night's sleep after this, I think.
Yeah, tell us about that. It's not one of those tracks where it's easy. I know I did a couple of laps. I'm not anywhere near. I've been a has been and never will be a will be. So that middle section is super difficult. A lot of lock that you're putting on the car. How do you think you mentally? Obviously, it's going to be difficult. But how do you think you're going to prepare and get yourself focused for these 2 races?
I think it's just patience. As soon as you excite the car one little bit, you're gone. You'll get hounded. So I think patience will be the key with the right foot here. So hopefully we're on the right end of it. I'm on the outside here, so hopefully we can make something happen to turn 1.
Hopefully you can get it down into turn 1 nice and cleanly alongside Madison, and hopefully we don't have the usual Winton carnage at turn 1. I'm sure that'll be further back behind you, but good luck for the race, Jared, and hopefully you have a good opening race tonight.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Jared Philsell, and now we're going to turn ourselves to Sandman, who's going to be sat with our P15th place starter, who we're hopefully wanting to start a little bit higher, but that's Brenton Hobson.
Mate, Brenton, well done. Not a bad quali session. Obviously, you'd like to be up a little bit further, but I guess you'd be breathing a sigh of relief at the same time that you're not too much further back.
Yeah, it could be damned if you do and damned if you don't here. You could be starting on the front or in the back and still get into it at turn 1. But for me, this is not a track I'm overly comfortable with, so I'm trying to be realistic about it tonight. P15 is probably where I thought I'd be. I was hoping for better, like you said, but we'll send it from here and see what happens.
How's preparation been coming into this round? Because obviously it's one of the newest tracks that we've had on the iRacing service, so not a lot of data to fall back on. But what's your week been like preparing for round 2?
It's been pretty busy with other things, so I haven't probably got the laps in here that I probably should have. But being a new track, we've done a few races here already, so we've got a little bit of stuff there to lean on, a bit of knowledge, and obviously I've got a bunch of really good teammates in SSR who have put in lots of work and worked on the setup. So I've got some people around me to give me a hand, and that always helps.
Before I let you go, how do you approach turn 1? It's obviously going to be a little bit chaotic. Do you go aggressive, or do you sit back and watch it all unfold in front of you?
Probably with my eyes closed, but I mean, I think it depends on the launch. The launch can be pretty dodgy. We've got the really short gear ratio in, so getting off the line will be difficult. I think we'll see a few people having issues just getting away, so it'll probably dictate what happens down there, but you can't win it in turn 1, especially from 15th, so we'll try and just get through there safe and see where we wind up.
Well, all the best, mate. Thanks for having a chat with us. Keep the nose clean and enjoy your run around here at Winton.
Cheers, guys. Have a good call.
Thanks, mate. Now we'll head over to Jake. I believe he's got Sean Mcnamara.
Yeah, I do. I have Sean Mcnamara down in 30th position. Not the qualifying you would have been hoping for, but how do you prepare? It's one of these tracks that's going to be difficult in the pack.
Yeah, 100%. Just didn't put a lap together. Not happy to be where I am, but good to talk to you guys. But yeah, look, it's going to be a fair bit of checking up over the first couple of laps. So play it safe, see where we come out after the first couple, and got a good race set under us, so we'll push forward.
Yeah, that's always the hardest thing. If you make one little mistake in qualifying, puts you further back than you want to be. But how do you prepare in terms of strategy now? Obviously, being a little bit further than what you would have liked. Do you maybe change up your strategy? Obviously, we've been talking about a little bit pre-broadcast of whether it's going to be people put tyres on, no tyre stops, a little bit of fuel. Does this now change your strategy heading into it?
I think if you're always going to get boxed in and held up, so it wouldn't hurt to get in early, I guess, and not necessarily put tyres on, but just try and get some clear air and put some good laps in. So wait and see what pans out in the first couple of laps, and because the safety car is going to change it all, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah, let the chaos commence in front of you and see what you can gain out of that. But good luck today, and hopefully you have a good race today.
Yeah, cheers guys, have a good call.
Thank you. And that was Sean Mcnamara starting down in 30th position as we get ready for the opening round. The second round. I always forget that. The second round, the opening race tonight here at Winton Motor Raceway, the second round of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. And Sandman, it's going to be crazy as we'll look towards the grid now, as we don't have a lot of, I think we've got about 2 minutes left before these guys will get rolling off. So we'll head to the grid, and on that front row, Madison Down and Jared Philsell. Who else would you want to start as we go down? And Marcelo Rivera, Jake Burton, Ethan Warren with Jake Maloney on row number 3, Brady Myers, Griffin Gardner, Ethan Griggold and Richard Hampstead on the top 10.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear these guys just before the race, you know, how they're going to approach the start. Obviously, it's a little bit of an unknown. It is a tight, twisty section, turns 1, 2, and we've seen, you know, lots of things unfold in the real world racing. So these guys have just got the same amount of pressure. It's just going to see how it all unfolds.
That's it. A couple of people further down. Kurt Stenberg. It is his birthday today. I don't think he would have wanted to start down in 22nd with a steady, but down there in 22nd position, got a little bit of work to do in the opening race. He's going to be behind Ian Ford alongside Chris Coxhead with Blake Warboys, Tom Freer, rounding out the top 24 as we look further afield. A couple of other big names down the field. Just Sebastian Floch, who moved over to Evolution Racing Team. He's now starting down in 32nd. That wouldn't have been his way. He wouldn't have started his first race for ERT.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, you know, it's always different when you're changing a team, whether it's a different environment and all the rest of it. You certainly have people that you gel with on your old team, and to deal with new people, you know, it's all right. It's a start of a beautiful relationship, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they will get it down after tonight. About 40 seconds left before we see these guys lights out. Quick prediction, how do you think this is going to go? Who do you think is going to get the better launch, Sam? And it's going to be between Down and Philcell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You'd think Real World maybe the cleaner side, but perhaps Vilcell could be on the cleaner side. I'm not sure. It's really going to be who gets that ideal start and gets the clutch away perfect. And yeah, it's all eyes on turn 1.
It will be all eyes on turn 1. Down Philcell on that front row. Down obviously missing the opening race at Sebring, has a lot of work to do in the championship, but this is the only way he can make it up is by starting on pole. He set himself up for the perfect start for the second round of the championship. Marcelo Rivera and Jake Burton, watch those two on row 2 as the guys should be getting ready to build the revs and get set to go. And it'll be Down with Philcell alongside the revs build for round 2 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational here from Winton Motor Raceway. Green flag, and we are away, and it looks like a good jump from Philcell as well as Burton. Marcelo Rivera's gone a little bit further back in the pack. Will we get through turns 1 and 2 cleanly as we get on the wall? It looks like we have gotten through turns 1 and 2 cleanly for now. There's maybe a couple of cars off in the background as they cut through turn 1 2.
Yeah, it could have been just a case of outbreaking themselves a bit. Oh, there's a car. Oh, Jeff, back into the racetrack too. Oh, that was tricky when the car started to point right back into all the traffic. But, geez, that could have been a lot worse than it really was.
I believe that was Jordan Ross. He lost it, and I think he hit one of his teammates too. So 2 of the SSR cars getting involved. Perfect curb cam through turn 6, coming up into the tight, twisty section of the racetrack. A couple of people are dropping down the order. Ethan Grigalt and Richard Hampstead moving further down. Hampstead's now dropped down to 12, so maybe a little bit of contact there as they all go side by side. But Philcell with a perfect start.
Yeah, I was curious about whether that start would help him being on that side of the racetrack. So obviously he's done the right thing. He's starting to gap Madison down. All he needs to do is just put eyes forward in the opening laps and just hit his markers.
That's all he needs to do, open up a little bit of gap, half a second right now to Down, Burton now in third in front of Rivera, then Ethan Warren, Maloney, Myers, Gardner, Anderson, and Ethan Grigol rounding out the top 10 as we're getting a good drone cam going as we look at these guys after the opening lap of the race day. Oh, so side by side, I believe that is going to be Ethan Warren. Yes, it is Ethan Warren and Marcelo Rivera side by side. The curves are making the cars bounce as hard as they ever will. And they're going to get it sorted out before turn 3. And Maloney, he was having a little look to go down the inside of Rivera as well.
Absolutely, it's tricky enough going side by side around this racetrack, but when a car catches one of those curves, you can see how much air they get. They start to bounce and it upsets the flow of the car, so really good for them all to survive that, but the last thing you need is bouncing too high off those curves, because that send you off onto the dirt and grass fairly quickly.
Yeah, and then he had a little bit of an inside front lock there from Ethan Warren coming into turn 7. A couple of guys further back having a little bit of side-by-side action, which is what you expect. These guys are making what looks like a track that you can't overtake, an overtaking opportunity as these guys start to sort themselves out. That was Ethan Grigol behind. Josh Anderson with Brad Ryan, his teammate, right behind. They're all single file for now, but Philcell's starting to open up a little bit of gap. 7/10 of a second down in front, just trying to stretch away as Ethan Warren's got a little bit of a gap now to try and close up between himself and Burton.
Yeah, beauty. These guys are just going to get themselves into a rhythm. Of course, everyone's going to have different strengths and weaknesses in these cars. So some people may have a good cars. We can see what's that like, cool drive entry of Anderson, who's fired into pit lane now. Is that strategy? That's early, isn't it? Lap 3 of 32.
It was very early. Well, we saw Hampstead come in as well, so whether he had damage from the opening lap, we did see seen him drop a couple of positions, so he's come in, and so is Anderson, but Anderson's car looked clean. So that's an interesting call from Josh to come in very early. It's only lap 2 of a 32-lap race. Maybe he's going to do as we look at spectator cam. One of another cameras that we have in for today is we look at the spectator cam where we can see from where you would be sitting. I've been there at Winton. This is where you stand and you can see the entire racetrack from here. It is such a good viewing track to actually go to and watch. As you can see all the way around, the only corners you really can't see is turn 3 and the last corner, but that's it. The entire racetrack you can see as we watch Jared Filsell coming out of turn 9. You get to see that all the racetrack out there.
Mate, it is so good. And like you said, that is the exact view you get. I've been lucky enough to visit this racetrack a number of times, and that's exactly the view you get. So the credit to iRacing, they've done a really great job, and I know there's so many people thrilled to have Winton Motor Raceway on the iRacing service.
As Myers is dropping down the order, he's dropping a long way down now. He's down to 12th, so something happened to Brady Myers there. He's lost a couple of positions, and now we see he's going to he's going to come in the pit lane. So obviously made a little error, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to get out of the track. Oh, he's got a lot of left front damage. So something happened there with Brady Myers on that lap. Our opening round winner, our championship point leader, is in the pit lane, and is now going to have to try and get that sorted and try and salvage something out of that, because that's a lot of left front damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the only positive you can take away from this is that he's got this pit stop. He can get that little bit of damage fixed. How perfect it'll be, we don't know, but it's not an aero-crucial racetrack. I guess that's one thing that's working in his favour. So not ideal, but not the end of the world at the same time.
Yeah, that's it. He's not going to be relying on aero as much as Sebring. If it was that the case, he would have been relying on a lot of aero there, but here, not as much, so he can just do what he needs to do. Filsell out in front, looking back at Madison down, and another track that we've got to talk about that's come out within a week. I think it is within a week or two. We're going to have Sandown as well, so talking about how good this track is and how well iRacing has done, we're going to have Sandown coming out soon, and I think these guys will love that when we head there. But right now, Filsell out in front, down in second, Burton in third. Looks like we're going to have one of those close races again.
Yeah, and these guys, I don't think they're in too much of a hurry to push too hard. So they all know, they've obviously got a game plan behind the scenes as far as what they want to do when they decide to pit and how the race unfolds. Great shot from the flag tower. You can see these cars and the gaps and the intervals that they've got all between each other. So those things will really come into play when they start thinking about pit strategies, where their car will come back out in traffic, what sort of pit stop they're going to make, because we're talking about it. They don't have to take tyres. It's not compulsory. Yeah,
it's not compulsory, as Barney has a perfect shot of this race right from where he's up on his start stand. Wayne Burke has some damage. I think that was from that opening lap contact we're seeing between himself and Jordan Ross. I believe it was him as well that had damage on that opening lap as we're looking through the field. All single file right now, everyone running in their own positions. Oh, big dive down the inside. That's one of the Haynes. He's gone down the inside. That was Adam Hayne trying to see from that position, but he's done a good job. Made himself up another position. I think that's one of the other SSR cars. That's Hobson with damage as well. He is dropped down the field. He is 28th at the moment.
Yeah, not sure what's affecting that car, but the last thing you need is too much damage. Maybe he's just sort of getting himself back into position because he was starting to get past here. Look at that left front. Yeah. There is that damage there. That could be hurting him as far as his steering angle.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage on the left front as well. So a couple of these guys have been in the walls on the opening laps and now just got to try and salvage something. Race 2, the grid is sorted from where you finish here. So you have a bad one in race 1 and it just sort of flows on to race 2. So you've got to make sure you try and stay out of trouble. But Hobson will be looking to have a little bit of a pass here, but he's not going to be able to, not close enough, sorry, to make a pass there. It was in front where Adam Hayne was having Hoxton behind, having a look behind to try and make a move, but not able to. None of these guys coming down pit lane. There's a couple of guys, Filsell out in front as this camera turns 3 and 4, and he's just starting to open a little bit of a gap. 0.6 of a second still, just hovering around there as down, trying to give chase.
And that camera shot showed that too, that looks like Filsell will be coming into a little bit of traffic soon too. We already spoke about some of these people that have already decided to pit early, whether it be to repair some damage or that's the way their strategy, but you can see we're already starting to approach traffic, and that'll be something to think about. Of course, it looks like that could have been the cool drive entry, I think, that is back on track. But yeah, that is certainly going to be something to think about for these leaders. No, it wasn't. It was the other T2 car, Brady Myers.
Yeah, Brady Myers has actually had a really long pit stop trying to fix his damage. 44 seconds in the lane. So he's lost a lot of time. That's going to put him on the back foot. So opening round winner, it's going to be really struggling to try and make up positions from there. But right now, Phil Sell just starting to stretch the gap now, 9/10 of a second. No one decided to come down pit lane, but Burton looks like he is starting to harass the back of Gown. He's getting ever so close, maybe trying to set himself up. But again, like you said, just sitting there, being patient. They've still got a long way to go in this race. Even though it's a sprint race, the laps will tick over fast. We don't want to make a silly move on lap 7 of 32.
Absolutely. We saw this in the last round too. You know, it was him and Phil Sell at the front, and then if someone would get between Phil Sell and him, he'd sort of push on a little bit. I think his role was for the opening round is that he just didn't want Phil Sell to open up that margin. So maybe he's thinking the same thing. He probably wants to get the pass done on down if he feels he's a little bit quicker, just to stay in touch. He doesn't want to lose that track position, I guess, is what he wants to keep key of.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to lose a little bit of ground, especially with where he is at the moment. He did a good job of that in the opening round of Sebring, like you said, with Brett Loxton. Now trying to have another look on Adam Haynes, see if he can make up the position. The two Haynes brothers, I'm hoping they're brothers. They're both in the same team, so I'm hoping they are. Now I'm going to see if he can have a look to turn 6. You can duck it down the inside, and that's what he's done. He's got to open the steering wheel with Adam Hayne to get him through, and he's done a good job of that. So nice move. And here comes Chris Coxhead, his teammate, going to try and hold it around the outside.
He's gonna dive, yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. So good move there by the two Team Jinx Shifters racing cars. Got the job done, and now moved himself up another position into 21st and 22nd.
And through that tight, twisty part of the racetrack too, I thought that was good. They really made the most of that advantage and dove up the inside on the brakes. But yeah, I always hold my breath for the amount of steering like you have to put on there just for a perfect lap, let alone when you're trying to make a dive up the inside of someone. So they all did a great job.
Yeah, did a great job and got it done, and did it cleanly. That's one thing that we like to see. No pushing of each other out the way. Obviously, you had to open up the steering, but you expect that when you have a car diving down your inside. As there was a look from Ian Ford, had a look to the inside of Blake Warboys, who was very battered and bruised Mustang out there. He's got a lot of damage to the front of that race car, but here comes Ian Ford trying to see if he can make up. He's already made up 6 positions actually in front of him. A couple of people made up a lot of spots, but again, opening lap, some people have pitted from inside the top 10. So the field is very mumbled up at the moment, and we'll only see where everyone sort of funnels out once everyone pits. And I think that's an interesting thing, Sam, and we weren't expecting people to pit this early.
No, that's it. And like we touched on, there's no compulsory tyres, so it's not the fact that, you know, they get their first laps or, you know, they only got a couple of laps out of those tyres. It's whether they want that gamble of making the tyres go the distance and not roll the dice on a fresh set of tyres. I mean, these guys obviously know what they've got themselves in for as far as their tyre wear, but you can see just how much out that margin that Phil Sell will slowly start to pull in the back markers there. That will be crucial, and then maybe does he think about making his pit stop there so he doesn't have to contend with any traffic?
I think that could be his goal. As we look at drone cam down, looking down the front straight as all these guys funnel down, starting a lap 9 of the 32-lap race here for the opening race here of round 2 of Winton Motor Raceway. And these guys all pretty much spread out at the moment. That's because a lot of the guys that were in sort of all these battle packs have pitted. The first person that has pitted is out in 26th position, and that is Richard Hampstead. He did a 3.7 second pit stop, so I reckon that was just a little bit of a splash of fuel there, Sandman. No tyres on his car, and just set it and went and see if he gained some time out in the fresh air.
I was curious about that too. You talking about how much fuel they've taken on board. You know, do some of these teams start really light and go for that pace at the start? You know, I don't know. It could bite them in the backside. You know, as far as staying still in the pit lane for too long, taking on that fuel they need to get to the end of the race. But I just like how there's so many different strategies that could possibly play out over the next 20 odd laps.
Yes, only 20 odd laps left in this race. It's going to go quick here tonight. These races will be very short. Phil Sell opening up a gap now, 1.1 seconds to Madison Down. First time we've seen it over a second. And Burton still a watching green in 30. Warren Stewart hasn't really gained much since he made that overtake on Marcelo Rivera. He's just sort of sitting there seeing what he can do to try and close down these two in front of him. That's this lovely camera that we have as well, fixated on the edge of the wall between turn 2 and 3, and those curves get a little bit dicey on that exit. They are there, they are prominent. They do a good job. You see Griffin Gardner right now in P number 7 with Wayne Burt behind him. Good little showing from Griffin Gardner right now as well inside the top 10 again.
Yeah, man, see that movement that Down had, because if you catch those curbs at the wrong angle, it's easy to fire off into the wall. So it was a moment, but he was on top of it. But now look at this nose to tail action. Burton is keen to get the job done. I think he's probably seen Madison Down's car move around a little bit, and he's thinking, you know what, I can see that Phil Self's starting to open that margin. It's 1.2 seconds now. He doesn't want to have that to get away too much, so he's probably keen to get the job done on Madison by the looks of it.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting to be a little bit more pushy, let's get the job done, because I need to close this gap down to Phil Sell. It's now over 1.3 seconds, so I think that's where Burton, seeing that gap open up, needs to see if he can try and close it down just enough and not give him any chance at the pit stop. You've got to try and just close it down so you can have that opportunity to do something about it. But at the moment, running on board, Burton doing a good job, because we have actually, like the stewards, a penalty from our new 24/7 race stewards. Car number 28 with a 5-second time penalty for contact with car 177, sorry. So there's a 5-second time penalty for car number 28. So that's going to be a disappointment for Richard Hampstead, because he is the leading car of the pit stop cycle. So now he's unable, without that 5-second penalty, that's going to cost him.
Yeah, it hurts him a little bit, and of course the one thing he doesn't want to see, which is obviously a possibility but not likely at Winton, is a safety car, because if this field punches up, that 5 seconds is a lot more crucial than what it is at the moment. I mean, thankfully there is a little bit of margin between him and some other cars around him. It's never ideal to get a penalty, but geez, you don't want to see a safety car.
No, he definitely won't want to say it. Burton has gotten around Down, so Burton has got the job done. He has, so he's got to go through that tight twisty section. He was all over him last lap. That looked like where he had the more car speed on Down. So we look at a replay, they were side by side already before they went into turn 9. So good job, make sure he set himself around the outside of turn number 8, and as he went through, got the job done. So now Burton, 2 seconds, he's got to try and close down to Phil Sell, but with the way these guys are running, I think Phil Sell's just got to concentrate on what he needs to do and hit his marks, but Burton is coming.
Yeah, it's interesting, when we took those onboard cameras just a couple of laps ago, we said it did look like he was keen to get the job done. As we look at this, I love this camera. If we clear the vision off, a little bit of bugs splashing up against the screen, but now Burton is keen. He's got his eyes forward, because look at that second. It's nearly 2 seconds now between him and Phil Sell, so he's keen as to get that closed down as much as he can.
Yeah, I think he saw Phil Sell starting to get a little bit too far away. Noticed that Down was starting to struggle a little bit with rear tyre grip. Looks like he's getting another slide. Let's go a little bit further on the back door, Jack Boyd, with Mitchinson behind him, having a little bit of a good battle for 15th and 16th at the moment. These guys, sort of the tail end of the guys that have done the pit stop. The leading car, like we said, was Richard Hampstead. He is in 23rd, so just sort of near that end of that pit cycle, and these boys having a good old fight. They've got a bit of a gap behind them and a bit of a gap in front of them, so they can concentrate and have a good battle. As big 2 wells through the air when Luke Mitchinson managed to hold on to it, no inside front locking, so did a good job there. He's going to have another look to the inside. And this section's so difficult. You've got to set yourself up. This exit, if you can get a good run in, we might, and as I said, that right out sideways, they're not going to be able to get any run down into turn 10.
And that's it, isn't it? The amount of lock they put in, then they've got to get on the throttle and feed it on and then get out of there as straight as they can. So easy to have the car little snap sideways, but looks like they're having a really good battle between themselves. Regardless, you don't have to be first and second to be putting on a great battle. Oh, closed up a little bit under brakes. Looks like he just missed his turn in a bit, but nevertheless, he didn't make contact. But yeah, you don't have to be first and second to be having a good battle in this series.
No, we saw that at round 1 at Sebring. There was battles throughout that field. We didn't even have a safety car there. But the way the strategy played out at Sebring, they managed to just bring everyone into their own little battle packs. But Mitchinson pushing hard, trying to get everything he can. A little bit of brake locking behind, but that looked like that was Hobson back in the lane. Oh no, Hobson, that's his first pit stop. So Hobson has dropped like a rock. If he was amongst all those guys, that damage must have been hurting him a lot, Sandman, because he was comfortably inside that. Oh, he started 15th, like we said. We spoke to him earlier on in the race, and he to stay clean. That damage has hurt him, because he was falling all the way down to 26 at that point.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, we've been in situations where we've had a bit of damage to the front of the car, and how much that does affect the car's balance. And then we talked about it so much with the amount of steering lock that you carry through the centre section of this racetrack. That's obviously hurting him a bit. So hopefully they can get a little bit of that damage fixed, and he can push on a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to push on and see what he can gain, and needs a good starting position for the second race tonight. But Phil Sell out in front, 1.8 seconds. But this little back down, Marcella's starting to close up a little bit now. Ethan Warren, he's trying to now close that gap A little bit faster lap time there from Marcelo, about a 10th quicker than Ethan Warren in front of him. So maybe he's just preserving the tyre life. You've got to think, if these guys aren't going to put tyres on, they have to get these tyres 32 laps around this joint, and they will be screaming by the end of it to get off that car. So they need to make sure they just preserve it, not push too hard in the early going, and I think that's what Marcelo's done.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, if you've already worked out in your mind what the perfect race strategy for yourself is to go the distance and not take tyres in that pit stop, you need to look after them, because if you abuse them, the stopwatch is going to fall asleep on you, basically. You're going to lose so much time. So smart driving, just look after those tyres and, work out the pit strategy just as the race goes on.
Yes, but still starting to just leave a little bit of a gap to down. Just down looks like he just doesn't have the car speed through that tight twisty section at the moment. I think that's where it's sort of letting him down, where he needs to try and figure out what he can do, maybe a little bit of an adjustment in the pit stop in terms of tyre pressures, or a little bit of an anti-roll bar adjustment. You can do that, obviously, as you can in real life, a little anti-roll bar adjustment maybe to get the car helping as the fuel comes off. It just looks like he's struggling just a little bit at the moment.
I'm interested to see when those guys actually decide to take their pit stop, because there's no, obviously there is a bit window as far as towards the end. He can't come in on the last lap, but these guys, if they're not going to take tyres and not do anything, they may just wait till a couple of laps to go before the end of the race and then just quickly dart in. So interesting to see how it all plays out over the next 15, 17 laps.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these guys have for strategy, what these guys are planning to do, because there's obviously a bunch of TTR cars up there, and he's obviously behind. But look at this drone cam as we look at these guys down into turn 3. He's down, still sitting there in third. A couple of these guys now coming down that are a little bit further back in the field. Burke was in the fifth, Luke Mitchison, Chris Cox there, as well as we have a good battle here. Sebastian Flock, new to ERT, having a look to see what he can do behind Joshua Thomas in front of him, trying to see if he can make a move through this section. It's just so hard. You need to set yourself up. This could be a good opportunity. We've seen a pass here. Big dive down the inside is what you need to do. Coming into the tight inside complex, over the rollover corner, that curb cam. Will he have a dive? No, not close enough to have a look. Gonna have to sit behind this lap.
Yeah, Flock's Logitech G Commodore, it looks good on turning, doesn't it? Like, you can see just how much ground he makes mid-corner. So I reckon his car looks pretty good. He's just got that that traffic to deal with, and if he can just get a nice exit on here, didn't quite carry the pace off the corner, but he could think about a dive up the inside, but he's a little bit too far back at the moment.
Yeah, just a little bit too far back. Lost a little bit of ground in terms of exit as we look in front. Ryan's coming down into pit lane, so one of the top 10 cars now down onto the lane to see what he can get in terms of strategy. Now we start to see where these guys are funneling out. Still Richard Hampstead is the first car. Oh, Sebastian Flock has decided, nah, this is the time. So there's a couple of others. It is halfway through the race, mind you, so these guys are just starting to pit, get in and see what they can do. A couple of guys have only done just fuel only. Will some of these guys do 2 tyres? So I think Wayne Burke's done tyres, judging by his pit stop time. Jack Boyd looks like he's done tyres as well. Brad Ryan looks like he's done tyres. So this strategy, the guys that have run a little bit longer are starting to put tyres in the cars compared to those guys who didn't. And looking at this order now in terms of our timing sheets that I've got, the full timing list, it is crazy. There's the guys that have done 3-second stops compared to guys that have done 10 seconds. So they've lost, some people have lost 7 seconds in the pit stop window, but now they have fresh tyres, Sam, and it could be on at the end.
Absolutely, and fresh tyres, as you know, is a driver's best friend. You actually feel like Superman when you come out of the pit lane after you've been on some average tyres. So, I think it's good that these guys aren't just going to take a quick splash of fuel and get on with it. They're actually putting some strategy into the race. Yeah,
putting strategy in, and now Burton's pitted from P number 2. Let's see, I'm going to watch his time because I want to see what he does in terms of his pit, but he is in the lane. As Hampstead is still the leading car that is had a pit stop. He is 16th at the moment, but he has a 5-second penalty over the top of him. So there is that. Let's see how quick this stop is. This longer. There's tyres. So Burton's put tyres on the VRS machine in P number 2. Now, are you fuel cell? Do you not put tyres on it and just put fuel in it?
Well, I guess at the moment he can stay out for a few laps because at the end of the day he's got that 2-second margin before he pitted, so he can probably sit and wait and think about what sort of pace, because obviously his team will be keen to see what Burton's times are as he's taken on new tyres.
Yeah, that's the case. You see whether Philso runs 1 or 2 laps longer, but Burton definitely there. 9.5 seconds was his pit stop, so that's roughly, we know, is roughly around a full 4 tyre stop. Hampstead 3.7, that's just a touch of fuel. Rosello with fuel as well. Brad Ryan put some tyres on his car. Anderson with no tyres on his, so that's sort of the window that we're at. This is a big battle, and this looks like it's going to be down the inside. Goes Burke on Freer, got the job done through there. The team strategy, maybe not fighting too hard. Let's look at that curb cam. Has a look to the inside, but Burke looks like he is flying through the field. You know why? Tyres.
Yeah, told you, tyres are your best friend. Makes you feel like Superman. So, especially, oh, look at that car move around sideways. Wow, that was close. But yeah, especially through, and we keep saying about how tight it is through that infield section. So, yeah, fresh tyres through there is good.
Yeah, fresh tyres through that infield section, I think, is where Burke's got a lot of his speed out of it. Rivera is in. He was sitting in P4 before the pit stop cycle. He has good tyres on it as well. This is really opened it up. It's like as soon as we got the halfway stand, man, the first part was just seeing what everyone was doing as we looked at the replay. But that little mistake there is just, good catch there from Burke, and that's a little bit of grip. Most probably helped in there. He didn't as we look. Oh, contact!
He's been turned round. That's not ideal. Obviously, there's some oncoming traffic too. Managed to get, but wow, that is crucial. That's a bit of a game changer there.
That was Ethan Grigault with Jordan Ross. A little bit of contact there. I think that he's gone down the inside, so we'll have a look at the replay. Turn 6, is he going to do the big dive to the inside? He has, but he's just not close enough. The door was open though, but he wasn't alongside, and around goes Ethan Grigault. Goodbye, Jordan Ross. Just lifted. He knew he did it wrong and didn't try and get an advantage. As Phil Sell's in.
Absolutely, yeah, Phil Sell in. No doubt the 24/7 sim stewards will have a look at that. But yeah, that's just, you've got to go for those dive bombs too, though. You know, especially if you think you're going to make up that position. So just a bit of bad luck. Now, what does he do? Does he take tyres? Looks like it.
Looks like it. It looks like tyres for Jared Philsell. A good strategy call to get that done. You've got to try and match what Burton's going to do, but Burton had a couple of laps. Here he comes down the front straight. Let's see where the rejoin is. He has gained time. Good opening couple of laps from Burton because he has closed that gap. It's going to be less than a second between Burton and Philsell. It's on.
Yeah, that worked out nicely for Burton because we said it was 2 seconds. It was just out of 2 seconds when he decided to pit. So you can see it's visibly closer, and now obviously his tyres are warm. It can take another about half a lap or so for Phil Sell to be happy with his tyres, and then these guys will push on to the end.
Yeah, especially through this infield section, I feel like this is where you don't want cold tyres with a guy that's 1 lap, 2 laps fresher, warmed up tyres, I should say. Now he's going to have a little bit of extra grip through this middle section of the racetrack, but Phil Sell's tyres will be starting to come up around about now as we head into turn 8 and turn 9, and that should be job done. But it's closer than I thought. Second's going to separate Burton and Phil Sell now. They both have fresh tyres on their cars. Marcelo Rivera as well, who is currently provisionally P3, besides when these guys decide to pit out in front. The first person without tyres is Richard Hampstead. Again, he still has 5 seconds over as we look at this battle between Anderson and Burke, who is flying through the field. This is going to be another position for Burke if he can get it done. Anderson's going to... he's had a look. He didn't make contact.
He managed to hold on to it, though. Wow, side by side. A little bit of kiss in that left rear. Lucky not to go around.
Yeah, lucky not to go. And Anderson backed out. He knew he made a little contact.
Oh, he's giving him another serve.
He's giving him a serve. Look at Alonso into the last corner. Yeah, the good old Logitech signage there. Good to have that actually out in the sim as well as it is in real life here at Winton Motor Raceway for the Logitech G Supercar Pro Invitational. And Anderson now going to have to try and see what he can do. He's on old tyres, but Burke now fresh rubber should be able to drive all the way.
And I can't wait to see what Down and everyone else decide to do, because obviously they've got that little bit of track position. They've got the knowledge now that they know that Phil Sell took on tyres, so they know that they could probably jump him if they decide to take on fuel. But are their tyres going to hold on?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Are the tyres going to hold on? The top 6 haven't pitted. That looked like that was Ethan Warren into the pit lane. So the top 6 have not pitted as of yet. So they are our sort of waiting to see what they can do as we look at the pit stop length. So these guys obviously, Hampstead, the longest length of his, but he obviously just no fuel, no tyres, just put fuel in it. He has a 5-second penalty hovering over him as well, so he's going to drop. But everyone else in the lane, or the 3 cars in the lane, Warren, Gardner and Ford, so let's see where those guys pop out. But Down's the biggest question. Down's running this long, he'd have to put tyres on Sam, considering the others two did.
Well, look, he'll think about the way his car feels. He's the one that only knows at the moment how that car feels and can it go the distance. He's only got to hold on for 10 or so laps. That margin that he buys himself, if he only takes on fuel, is that enough that's going to help him keep that position over fuel cell? I don't know, but look at the gap now. The fuel cell's just starting up over Burton.
He is gone. He's now made it 1.2 seconds. So I think fuel cell, as soon as those tyres came in, Burton obviously used up the rubber to try and get an undercut, try and get that position, and now he's just trying to make a little bit more ground. Our best lap time at 18.4 is done by Jared Filcell, which was the last lap of the race. So he just opened it up and said, I'm going for this first lap out of the stop. Did a good job, got the fastest lap, 2/10 quicker gain on that last lap over Burton. So tyres are working a charm.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's pushing on because he knows that Down's got that opportunity of changing his strategy. Yeah. So he knows he can't afford to just take his time. A little bit of nose to tail there. Looks like Luke Mitchison just getting as close as he can to the bumper. There was no touch. It was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Play on.
Game on. Yeah, play on. Ethan Grigault comes in the lane after his little bit of a half spin that he had with Jordan Ross. He's going to be in the lane. He's going to be trailing down. But the guys out in front, they're doing 19.6 is where their last lap compared to an 18.4 was that last lap from Jared Filcell. So an 18.5 as he comes across the line. So going to be interesting to see as Marcelo Rivera, as we watch on screen. He's done a really good job, I have to say, of running where he is. He is currently third, but Ethan Warren in front of him has come out in front of him. No tyres on that car.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to do the maths in my head, you know. Oh, there's a car off backwards there.
Don't tell me it's come together with Ethan Grigault. Ethan again. I saw an ERT car and I went, no, that couldn't. There is a lot of them out there, so I may have got it wrong, but I did see Ross. He was around. We'll look at the replay of that. It was an ERT car, but was it? Oh, I don't know who it was. We're going to have a quick look back. It was Ethan Grigault's come out of pit lane and they've made contact.
Look at him, catches the curb, car's up in the air. He couldn't do anything about it. He's already sideways in the air and he obviously didn't mean it, but that's the tricky part about Winton Motor Raceway. You come out of the pits, you're on cold tyres, you catch the curb, and unfortunately that's devastating for Jordan Ross. The only thing you can take away from it is that I don't think he made contact with the wall.
No, I think he got it stopped as he slid into the grass. But yeah, there's not much you can do from Ethan Grigault's standpoint. You're coming out of pit lane, like you said, Sam, and it is tight there. And he's just clipped that inside curve and he saw it and got instant sideways. Just turned the wheel, tried to keep it in lock, but it just said too much and got the job done. That's Griffin Gardner down the inside of Ethan Grigault, who might have some damage, mind you, after that bit of contact. It wasn't light, it was heavy. Gardner got the job done, moved himself up into P11. These guys both have fresh tyres on their car as well.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, no one wants to make contact with someone, so it does play on your mind for a little bit, a lap or so afterwards. You're like, damn it, didn't want to do that. It was never something that he intentionally did. So that'll just play on his mind for a moment. But obviously, I think the stewards will have a good look at that. It's just incidental. It's unfortunate, but tough day now for us.
Yeah, none of these guys want to make contact. I'll tell you that right now. Some of them, I know for myself, I hate making contact with another car, and it's one of those things you really don't want to do, especially when it's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't do anything, especially in that position. But as we look at the curb cam through turn 6, that's an awesome shot. I love that shot. As these guys, this is the interesting thing now as well. We've got guys on tyres and no tyres that I'm struggling to keep up with because there's so many older Australians who've been up that pit lane strength, stick length at the moment. Down to Maloney, the first two at the moment have not pitted. I think these guys are going to run it as long as they can, Sam, man. Come in, just put the minimum fuel to whatever they need to do, and then come out and go.
Yeah,
I think the right call.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess that's what they're gambling on. They know how their car is. I think that's exactly what they're going to do, because if you were going to put on tyres, you would pit earlier just to get the gain out of those fresh tyres. So I would imagine, looking at these two guys, they will just come in, do a quick splash, and then they'll take off and then just play it. Depending on how the cards fall, we know that Filcell's got a margin to close down. It's 20 seconds at the moment, but that will reduce big time when these guys travel down pit lane.
Well, that's the thing. I'm having a look now at the pit length time between some of these guys that have come down pit road. Pardon me. Those that have put on 4 tyres have done 36-second pit length. Those that have done just the fuel have only done 30 seconds. So 30 seconds for down in terms of total time. That's going to put him behind Rivera and Hampstead. So is this the right call? And do they see that it's actually disappearing now, their strategy? And maybe they should have hit it earlier, because at the moment they will actually come out a fairway behind down. They may even come down behind Hampstead. Even I know Hampstead has the penalty waiting over him, but that's still a fair way down.
Yeah, look, I think they're at the point in the race now that they've made their bed. It's time to sleep in it. There's no point probably coming in and losing more time and putting on tyres, because like I said, there's only a few more laps left in the race, and they're not going to get that advantage out of that fresh tyre stick to make up the ground. So I think at the moment it'll be a quick splash, and then they'll just see how it all plays out. But obviously it's going to work out in Phil Sell's favour. He's now opened that margin over 2 seconds over Burton, so that's working out quite nicely for him.
As we look back at his battle pack for P number 12, Ethan Kruggold at the head of it. He's got Josh Anderson right behind him. Anderson did not put tyres on that car, so he is running off field, and so did Ethan Kruggold. They actually both did not put tyres on that car. So this sort of little battle pack here is no tyres out in front of it. The next car in this train that actually has tyres is Reina Costello. He's a 56 car, a little bit further back in this train, sitting in 15th position. So he could have a little bit of an advantage in front of these guys, and they'll know that. They'll know that he's most probably put tyres on, especially if Ethan Kruggold. He'll know his teammates put tyres on that car. Now he's got to try and see if he can hold it. As Anderson goes for a move, he was looking to the inside. There was a little bit of smoke. They may have made a little bit of contact, but at the moment, still side by side. Coming around turn number 8, is Anderson going to keep his nose in there? He does. He keeps it there. He was there, and he made it. Oh, he's going to escort Ethan Kruggold a little bit wide on the exit, and that's going to let Tom Freer through. A little bit of hard racing, but got the job done.
Yeah, I don't think there was too much in it. Obviously, a little bit of bump and grind, but looks like he's just struggling with that car. He's fallen back. We've spoken about a little bit of damage in his feet. And then have a look at this. Ryan Costello. Holding margin there. These guys battling it out. Of course, like 26 of 32. Our good mate, Fernando Alonso, watching on. And Costello just wants to go eyes forward and not get himself caught up too behind with the action happening behind him.
Yeah, watching these two Logitech cars going at it with Fernando Alonso on this Logitech banner. Having a good little look as we look back at Ben Smith having a little duck. He also has no tyres on the car, so the next guy behind him is actually Greg Fabell in the Taipan Esports, so he's behind him. And there's Kurt Stenberg standing with on his birthday. He's made up some positions, currently in P number 17, so I think you won't be too unpleased with that.
No, absolutely. And you can see there's a bit of war damage inside of that thing. So he'll probably get away with paying the bills. Here we see the TTR car of Jake Maloney. He's now in pit lane. Now this will be crucial. I think it'll be a quick stop for fuel. He'll be in and out, and let's see where it puts him on the racetrack.
Yeah, this would be crucial to see where he comes out. I think he's going to come out actually behind Brad Ryan, so roughly around P8 at the moment. He's about 3 seconds off. It's going to take about 30 seconds to see how quick his pit stop was. Yeah, 3.7, so it was just fuel. Going to come out roughly around Brad Ryan as Phil Sell retakes P2. Let's see this rejoin. Is he going to get the job done? That's actually behind Warren. So he's going to come out in front of he's going to come out in front of Marcelo Rivera. So actually a little bit closer than I thought he was going to be there, Sam. So maybe a little bit of time, maybe the cut through the last corner or something, gain a little bit of extra time. Don't know exactly where that pit start line is sort of taken in terms of pit lane time, so he may have just gained a little bit of time, but he's got the job done in front of Marcelo Rivera. Rivera is on tyres though.
Yeah, and I think the way it's playing out, I think Down needs to pit obviously in the next lap or so, obviously before the end of the race, but he needs to be careful about where he's going to come out. I think he's going to be holding his breath to try and sort of hold on to that 4th place, but we'll just have to see how that all plays out over the next lap or two.
As we look back at Ian Ford, just holding down P number 20. He's got Blake Warboys behind him as well. As in comes our race leader, Madison down in the pit lane. This is a long call for Madison. He's run it all the way to lap 27. Not a lot of laps left to go. But I don't think he's definitely not going to come out in front of Phil Sell. I think Jared has run a perfect strategy call in this one. He's going to have as much time as he needs to.
Absolutely, and he's got no pressure from behind. I think that margin's now up to 3 seconds between him and Burton. So you can see Down's already away. So that's P3 at the moment. But is he going to get taken over by his teammate in Warren? Warren's now coming up to the first turn. Looks like he may have held onto it.
Yeah, he's done a good job. So good call there. He's going to get it out in 2P number 3 quite clearly actually, but lost a lot of time to those guys out in front that he was having a battle with. But none other, he's done what he needed to do. He's put it into P3. I don't think he'll be too unpleased with that. Obviously he would have liked to win, but I think compared to the pace that Phil Sell and Burton had, especially Burton in that second phase of that opening stint, he was really quick. So it showed there as we look back. Brad Ryan and Richard Hampstead Ryan doesn't really need to make too much of a go at this because Hampstead has that 5-second penalty weighing over him. He could just sit here and follow him around.
Yeah, absolutely, and no doubt they all
As
know
I say
he's going
that.
to think about it. He's going to dive up the inside. He wants to try and push on regardless of that penalty. So nice move there from Brad Ryan.
Yeah, good move, clean, well done. I think Hampstead didn't find him too hard either. I think he knows he's got 5 seconds. He doesn't want to lose 3 to 4 seconds trying to put up a good fight. As Ethan Gridgolt's got a Gridgolt train at the moment going on, as we've got Costello behind him, seeing what he can do in his Evolution Racing Team Logitech G Mustang with a Commodore behind him of Ben Smith's. Just trying to set himself up. See that wide exit, trying to slide it up the run down into turn 10. He's got a really good exit. The fresh tyres. This should be down the inside, nice and clean. Ethan's going to open up the steering. Doesn't want to put too much pressure. And it is actually Ben Smith could dive into this one too.
Yeah, looks like we really think about a crossover. No, it looks like it's just back down to the throttle and you'll just hold position. But I do love the way these cars move around. They've got different lines. You know, they're trying to get on the throttle easy. They're trying to go for an inside or an outside move. I love it. And that's crucial to get right, especially through those tight, twisty sections.
Yeah, he set it up perfectly, did what he had to do, and is already starting to drive away on that fresh rubber. A couple of cars behind, obviously still no tyres on those cars, so they're all fighting on old machinery, trying to see if they can keep it going towards the end. But Ethan Gridgolt, I think that damage on the pit stop hurt him. Rivera's gotten around Maloney. Maloney's got back around Rivera. So those two are having a little bit of a battle here. This is for P number 5 coming towards the end of this race. And I'm going to guess Maloney and Rivera were side by side through turns 6 and 7 again, but all sorted back out. Maloney back out in front.
Mate, that's right. The main thing is they're not off on the grass, they're not backwards, they're just having a ding-dong battle. They know that they're in the closing laps of this race, and the mindset now is just to look after everything because you've got to keep yourself fresh for the next one. We've got another race after this.
And that's it. There's another race following this. To think we've done nearly 30 laps and we've still got another one. The thing with it, that was wide from Ethan Warren. He is struggling, it looks like, with his tyres. And that's the thing. Marcelo Rivera has fresh rubber, so he actually has the tyre advantage over these two in front of him. And then see if he can try and make it work. Obviously, he was close to Maloney that last time around. Now he's going to try and gain that little bit of time that he lost while having a battle to try and see if he can push back to Maloney and Warren.
Yeah, and Maloney and Warren, they'll be talking within the team. They'll know how each other's car, and if he can't push on, if Ethan Warren just has to look after things, he knows that he don't get too much pressure from behind. But that's obviously something they've spoken about during the race, and the team managers will be on that now, and they'll be in the guys' ears. They'll know that there's not too much pressure, but they do need to be careful because Rivera's there, and he could do the job too.
Yeah, he can get them both. If you look back at this other battle pack that we got going on, it's Ethan Gridgolt now at the front. And who's joined the back of it? I think it's Ian Ford. So another one has joined the train of Ethan Gridgolt train. This is like a Alonso train from Monaco. As Maloney! It's Maloney!
Oh, we have to see a replay. You can see the skid marks there. So whether there's been contact, I don't know. Just going to have to check this out as we go to the Logitech G Supercars replay. Yep. Contact.
He was there, but I'm glad I'm not a steward.
Got him in the left rear.
Yeah,
I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, we'll leave the stewards, the 24/7 sim stewards, to look at that one. But yeah, that's a tough one.
I don't think it was close enough. It's Anderson and Freya now at it. And this is what we love about this. We saw it in the opening round. There is battles everywhere on this racetrack. There is not a position not near there isn't a battle going on for some position as we look between Anderson and Freya for 12th and 13th, at the moment. Both not on fresh rubber, but these guys are trying to hold on just to try and get some points. So we go on visor cam with Tom Freya as we get to see how much they're driving these race cars around this racetrack. We say that they're driving it, but you've got to physically, mentally drive this car around here.
And something that we talked about while we're watching visor cam, watch the steering input that these guys get, especially through the next part of the racetrack. There's so much lock. That's the one thing that really surprised me when I actually did some laps around here, is just how much lock these guys carry through these turns.
Yes, so much lock, so much turning angle that these guys need to do. And Ian, look at this train. we have got a train, and it is forming right now. It was behind Ethan, it still is. Is that the Type car?
Sideways.
Whoa, he locked the rears, managed to hold on to it somehow.
More contact. He's got again. Oh, they managed 3 wide. Get out of there. Holy smoke, and more contact on exit.
What are we doing? There's nowhere to be 3 wide through there. That's not a passing opportunity. Down the inside.
They're going to try. Oh, I thought they were going to try 3 wide again.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that was going to be another 3 wide. We're going to cut now, boys. This is like race 1. We've still got another one. We can't be doing this every week. As we are on the white flag, Jared Philsell visits these boys playing war boys down the inside. He's done it, but not going to get the exit. That could be Greg Lavell's run down into turn number 1. He's going to have the inside line. And it's Barney waves his white flag. He's going to cover him off and keep that position.
Sideways.
Sideways.
Oh, he's going to get the crisscross. Look at him. Beautiful move.
Got the job done. Down the inside goes Blake Warboys, and that's going to be another position for him up into P number 22. Is he going to cover him off? He is, but we move to our race winner. Oh, our race, I'm not going to say winner because we don't know after last time.
Yeah, I couldn't even get it right last time.
But Jared Philsell coming around our final 2 corners here at Winton Motor Raceway. Gonna win. Checks it out sideways. Going to win the opening race here of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational for round 1. Round 2, Jared Philsell, opening race winner. Burton comes home in P number 2, and Madison Dow going to round out that podium. Good race though by those guys. Good hard fought racing. Warren and Rivera very close to the end. Maybe a penalty over the top of Rivera after the contact that he had. As we look through the rest of the guys, as there is Hamster, who we know has a 5-second penalty, so he's going to be dropping a little bit further back. Sam, man, what an opening race of the evening.
Yeah, that was terrific. You know, a lot of the guys just taking the checkered flag now, but clinical work from Phil. So he managed, he got a great start. We spoke about that he had the clean side of the racetrack, did everything right into turn 1, had a great strategy, pushed when he needed to, and then those obviously fresh tyres. And him and Burton, he opened up that gap and just slowly pulled away as the race went on. But yeah, it was a great race by Jared.
Yeah, clinical performance there from Jared Philsell and the Boost Mobile Racing Commodore. Got the job done, got a good start, and that's all he needs to do, and was able to comfortably hold on there. 3.3 seconds it was over Burton. I think that his opening laps of his pit stop was, very well done. That was what got him that gap. He just drove it to what his limit was and did what he needed to do.
Have a look at those. Just look at the stats of Brad Ryan. He jumped 7 places in that race. So well done to Brad Ryan. He'd be pretty chuffed with that. So any race that you can gain 7 spots in, that's not a bad job. And no doubt that'll fire him up for race 2.
Yeah, that'll definitely get him fired up. As we look at our results from round 2, the opening race here at Winton Motor Raceway for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. Jared Philsell with the win by 3.3 seconds over Jake Burton. Madison down in 3rd. Good recovery, good drive from him after what happened at round 1, not being able to compete. Ethan Warren, Marcelo Rivera rounds out the top 5. Could be a little bit of a question mark over the 5th place there from Marcelo. Brad Ryan and Richard Hampstead 6th and 7th with Maloney, Griffin Gardner and Luke Rosella rounding out the top 10 as we look through the rest of your field. A couple of Judge Stenberg, good drive there on his birthday to come home with a P16. I'm sure he'll be chuffed with that after his opening first round. But a couple of people with not the result that they would be looking for. Hobson was right up there at the end, and our championship leader, Brady Myers, is a long way down. He had a shocking performance. Well, I shouldn't say shocking, but it was not what he was looking for, all the way down in 35th.
Yeah, obviously not ideal, and he'll have his work cut out for him for the next race too, because obviously he starts from where you finish this race. So, yeah, work cut out for him, but I tell you what, Winton turned it on. It wasn't too bad. I think we were a little bit worried that it might have been a little bit of like Monaco-type racing, but it was certainly mixed things up. I like the idea that these guys took a gamble with strategy. Some went with tyres, some didn't. So I reckon that was really good and gives us something to look forward to for race 2.
Yeah, definitely going to be something to look forward to race 2. These guys turned it on. It wasn't a procession like we thought, Sam, man. They did a really good job. Brought on some really good racing. Hopefully we can keep that going for race 2. So we're going to catch a short little break, catch our breath, regroup, and then we'll go again for race 2 here at the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. We'll see you right after the break.
Hi, I'm Ethan Grigolt, driver of the Evolution Racing Team and the Logitech G Racing Hyundai XL. Before I got into real racing, sim racing pretty much taught me everything I know when it comes to racing lines on the track, car control, racecraft around other cars, just everything to do with racing I learned on sim racing first. When I jumped into the real car, it was a bit of a wake-up call. There's a lot more sensations in a real car than you get in the sim, but once you get past that, pretty much a lot of the techniques are exactly the same, and if you're good in the sim and you're not afraid too much in the real world, you should be able to translate it easily.
Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational from Winton Motor Raceway, round 2 of the championship. We've already had race 1, Jared Philsell taking out the opening race of this evening as we get ready for race 2. Cool pictures from the drone camera that Luke has set up, having a look around this racetrack, especially the Logitech G banner at the last corner. And Sam, man, it was a good opening race, a little bit better than I think we thought in terms of racing out there. The guys definitely put it on out there, and now we're just going to see what they can do for race 2.
Absolutely. It'd be interesting to see their mindset for race 2, whether they stick with the strategy they liked or whether they decide to mix it up. Obviously, we saw how important that tyres were. It really worked for Philsell and Burton, obviously. But, yeah, will they take the gamble, the people that didn't try tyres? Will they go back to tyres? It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And, of course, that all falls back on how their race is progressing. Obviously, if you get caught up in an incident, run wide, and you lose about 5 or 10 spots, and obviously that's something to think about whether you want to bring yourself back into the action.
Exactly, that's going to be one of those things. We look at a visor cam, looking through the cockpit, all the detail that goes into these cars. iRacing does a mega job of every car they detail, they laser scan from the ground up, and the amount of effort these guys put in, I know they put in a lot of effort to get these cars as accurate as they can as possible. And I can't wait to see what they do with Sandown, obviously, in the next coming weeks. We should have a little bit of a word with that, though, as well, for people who are looking to get into iRacing or getting obviously into iRacing or have been on iRacing for a while. We have Sandown, and it's coming within 2 weeks or a week. I can't remember what week it is right now, what week we are on the service, but I know it's coming within the next couple of weeks. We will have Sandown on the service, and I know I can't wait to crack some laps around there, Sam, and I'm sure you are too.
Absolutely, and the most important thing is that Sandown is part of our Enduro series for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational, and in my eyes, that's the ultimate endurance run. You know, Sandown before Bathurst was a traditional thing, and I loved it.
Yep.
And to have that part of our series is terrific. I think it's something that real-world supercars should obviously take on board, but obviously there is too some chat about whether, you know, the existence of Sandown Raceway sticks around in real life, and hopefully we don't lose it to property, real estate and everything else, but that obviously is out of our hands, but thankfully we've got the ultimate endurance lineup with Sandown and Bathurst.
That's right, we do have that ultimate lineup, the way it should be. Sandown and the Bathurst. I think we should maybe chuck in a little bit of a retro round. Except I know the painters will hate me for saying that, and I hate myself for saying that, but retro round always looks cool, and I always love that type of ability to bring back some of the old liveries, especially a lot of these teams now that we have been, I know you've been commentating on the supercars for a lot longer than me. There has been so many different liveries that a lot of these guys have run throughout their careers that they could bring back. Obviously, I remember the days of Madison Down in the old blue Ford, when the Ford FG was on the service. That's so long ago, but it was how it was. No, you were driving that car actually too.
It was so, it's so good, like you said, a lot of people have got affiliations with so many different sponsors, and that's the one thing I do love about the series is that we've got real-world sponsors getting in and supporting these teams, whether it be financially or whether it be with equipment, and that's good that these sponsors are embracing the product. And of course, there's so much happening in real sim world racing with esports, whether it be Formula One, MotoGP do their esports, and of course, not too far away is the start of the V8 Supercars E-Series as well.
Yeah, already getting ready for the Supercars E-Series, which is going to be another great season. I think that will be, obviously, and it's been good to be able to put that on for everyone as well. And this has been a good lead up to it, I should say. These guys have been turning it on as well, and this is a whole different ball game as well. They've done really well with this Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational, making it its own. And here it is, setting. We already saw first round. I don't think anything can top first round, no matter what series it is. That was one of the best races I've ever seen, and here they turned it on again for race 2. Not as much, but they were still having a good hard fight throughout the field, and that's what this series provides.
Absolutely. I think there was a lot of unknowns coming into this championship about what this series would be all about. But now I think, obviously everyone got a taste of it at Sebring. They can see what we're all about. And there is a lot of excitement already, people busting to get into the series for the next season. So, and not that that has even been spoken or announced yet. So, but that's good. We're putting on a good show. people obviously representing their products that they've got representing with their teams and everything else. And of course, you know, we're lucky to have the support of Logitech G too that have got on board and supported this program. And I think so far so good. And like we were talking about earlier, we were unsure about how the racing would go at Winton, but I think we saw something pretty good. And we're also lining up for the next round. Oh, mate, I love Red Bull Ring. I'm a big fan of Red Bull Ring, and I can't wait to see Supercars around that for round 3.
Yeah, Red Bull Ring, I think we were both talking before that we'd love to be there, because that place is just, the countryside is beautiful. Everywhere about that place is actually amazing, and I'd love to be there one day to experience that. But Red Bull Ring coming up in less than a couple of weeks, 4 weeks, I think it is, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we have the next round of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. But as we get ready, massive shout out to Luke for all his camera work that he does, as well as Logitech G for the whole series and 24/7 sim servers and everyone else behind the scenes as we get ready for round 2 of this evening, race 2 of this evening. Jared Philsell Burton lining up on that front row. Will Burton be able to capitalise on that outside, on that grippier side of the track? Madison Down, Ethan Warren, row number 2 with Marcelo Rivera, Brad Ryan, Richard Hampstead and Jake Maloney running up on row 4 with Griffin Gardner and Luke Rosella on row number 10, Wayne Burke and Josh Anderson on row number 6 as we continue to look further through the field. A couple of big noticeable names, Ethan Griggold obviously down in 17th position, so I think that's after post-race penalties. So oh no, that was after he was just having after his contact with Jordan Ross. Sorry, so that's before penalties. So he's down there and got a lot of work to do with a bunch of the other cars. We should be getting set. These guys should be getting ready to light themselves up and get ready for race 2. 32 laps ahead of us. Same strategy again. Let's see what these guys decide to turn on Dan Men and these guys as the ramps build for race number 2 here at Winton for Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational, and we are underway for race 2, and it's another good start on that outside, but Philsell got away in the second portion of that start, did a really good job, got the job done into turn 1 behind. It looks like we're all going to funnel through, no one run off the edge of the grass. I jinxed that. Commentator's curse. Strikes again.
Didn't quite catch who was off there, but you can see Philsell got off to an amazing start. 2 from 2, that's all he'd be looking for this weekend. Obviously, that's what he needed to do. He doesn't have to worry about any drama in front of him. He can nice forward, but now he just needs to capitalise on that position and worry about Burton wiring his mirror.
These guys down forward, concentrating on trying to get some positions, concentrating through all of that corner is awesome. I love that shot, that is awesome. As we look back a little bit further, side-by-side action. I wonder whether Burton's trying to maybe make his car a little bit better. Here's that battle. Wayne Burke on the inside. He's going to try and funnel back in. He's not going to be able to. So further in front, that's Rivera on Maloney. These two at it again, and he's going to shut the door on the exit. Here comes Griffin Gardner, going to see if he can try and get the job done around the outside into the second to last corner. Not going to be close enough to be able to get that done.
Yeah, he's got his work cut out for him to try the outside, especially in the first lap. The last thing you want to do is make any silly mistakes. That's Henderson. He's in the pits again. He tried the early strategy in the last race. So, wow, interesting to see how that plays out for him. It didn't quite work big time for him in the first one, but clear air is key.
Clear air is key, and there's a lot of people in the pits this time. Josh Anderson, Rainer Costello, Jordan Brosh, Kurt Stenberg, Brendan Hobson, Lee Ellis, Chris Coxhead. They're all in the pit lane. They have all gambled.
Oh, one of the TTR cars, sorry mate, run wide, he's given position. So Madison Downs actually now tagged 3rd. So Warren looked like he struggled just to get the thing turned in.
Oh, we've got another one off the road. That's Josh Thomas with a lot of damage to the left front. I don't know whether he maybe made contact with that outside wall at turn 3, but he's got a lot of damage to that left front. As we saw a couple of cars, another car I think was running wide there at turn 7 as he managed to keep it on the track. I think he has, but Burton and Philsell trying to spread a little bit of a gap now over Madison Down.
Yeah, and Burton was well aware of what Philsell did in that first race. You know, he managed to open up that margin. I think now that he's not stuck behind Down like he was in race 1. So now he wants to go with Philsell, but he's obviously got to look after his car at the same time. So will they go with the tyre strategy like they did in race 1, or do they gamble and try no tyres? Only time will tell.
Yeah, that's going to be the big question now, is what do these guys do change up? I think Down and then will have to change up their strategy from race 1, to see if they can maybe make a difference. As coming line to come through turn 2, is we're going to bring up a replay of the start, and it was just a great jump. It looked like initial launch was Burton, but look at that, seconds just gone. wow, that was a really good start from Fuel Cell.
Yeah, we said he was clinical in race 1. It was a clinical start for that one as well. You know, we commented on how well it was in race 1. All the drama's back. As you see, one of the cars making a massive cut through the grass there. Rejoins, lucky not to make contact. And of course, these two cars, is that Greg Favell, lucky not to make contact with the barrier there. Not an ideal start, but obviously they can make that ground up if by some chance that a safety car does come out.
Yeah, one thing we haven't seen this season, and touch wood, I've got a lot of wood around me, I'm going to touch all of it. We haven't seen the safety car as of yet in terms of the opening 2 rounds of the championship, and this is obviously our 3rd race of the season, so we'll see whether that decides to play a factor in this one. It would be interesting if it does, because there's a lot of strategy that's going to play out if it does, of who just chucks tyres on it and goes. But at the moment, Fuel Cell out in front comfortably, half a second gap over Jake Burton in P number 2, Madison down, Ethan Warren and Brad Ryan in P number 5. So we get the drone cam back out as these guys run down towards turn number 1. As we've got a car exiting pit lane. I think they're just going to cruise out of there to the pit lane while these guys funnel through into turn 1, which is good to say. Who was that? Was that Burton sideways off the turn 2?
I missed it. I was looking down the field, actually. I was looking down the rundown and looking at Brad Ryan in P5. We spoke about how he made 7 spots in that earlier race. So he'd be quite chuffed with himself right now, sitting in P5, early stages. He's got a little bit of pressure behind him by Maloney, but that's okay. I think he'd be pretty quite chuffed, and I'm keen to see how this strategy plays out, whether he takes a gamble with no tyres to try and jump the cars in front.
Yeah, well, he did a good job. He had a really solid drive down. As we look at a replay of Burton, it was Burton down at turn 2. It's a little bit after the fact that for him having a massive slide that he had going through turn number 2, but coming back up. And I think Ryan is definitely in that position where if he can close down the gap to the guys in front, he had pace, but obviously it worked out for him in the opening race to gain some positions. And we'll see what he can try and do from 50s a little bit further up the field. Doesn't have to work as hard as we look through Wayne Burke and Ethan Grigalt in another battle. Burke looking to the inside, shows the nose, not close enough to get the job done, but just saying to Ethan, I'm here, I'm ready to go, I've got some pace to burn.
And a cool little video that we got to see in that little break between races with Ethan, you know, his real world racing and his partnership with Logitech G. That's so good. And now he's got it, the battle on racetrack. He's got his work cut out for him. He knows his road around Winton, but hopefully it can be a little bit cleaner and less drama than he had in the opening race.
Yeah, I think you'd definitely be hoping for a little bit less drama than the opening race. Just cruise through this one, I think, would be a nice way. But he's got Wayne Burke all over the back of him, trying to apply as much pressure as possible to see if he can make up some positions. Burke was a little bit of a sort of up and down race, didn't he, in that first race, with Tom Freer right behind him, one of his other SSR teammates. I think he's got another one behind him, Jack Boyd. So they're all on a little bit of a train as Burke inside front lock. Yeah, didn't want to get in the back of Ethan. He pulled it up enough, but he is hounding the back of Grigold at the moment.
Yeah, I think the one thing he's enjoying, we spoke about how much damage he actually had in race 1. So obviously he's got a straight, fresh race car now, and he's trying to think about a way around Ethan Grigold. But yeah, he's obviously his eyes forward now, trying to find the cleanest job possible to get the job done, but also got to be careful about what's happening behind him as well.
Yeah, this is a big train of cars, and as we look at this is back at the end of turn 11, looking all the way back down to a turn 10 as this battle from 17th on back. That's Harrison with Ian Ford right behind them as a couple of bit cars come down pit road. Grigolt is one of them. That's interesting. Another one that comes down pit road that is also one of the Evolution racing here. I think it was Sebastian Flock. So a couple of guys calling this all the early strategy. Oh, that was close. There's no radar guy there with a radar gun to actually get him this time. It's all obviously done in sim, so he was pushing his limit to try and gain as much as he could there on the pit entry with Blake Warboys.
Absolutely, he did what he could to get up to speed or right to the back bumper before he got to that line, so that obviously worked out nice for him. So is it a quick one? We'll find out later on, but as you see, Jared Filsell now just still got that margin over Burton. It's only 0.4 of a second, so Burton is holding on down now, but he was gifted, as we saw, gifted third from Ethan Warren before, but these guys just getting into a rhythm, and I'm keen to see how they play their strategy.
It's definitely going to be one of those factors of how do these guys play their strategy after round 1, after race 1. Obviously down, no tyres, just put some fuel in it, maybe lost a little bit more ground than what he would have wanted, but these two pitted early, got some tyres on it and went, and we saw what happened with Fuel Cell when he went after that tyre, fastest lap and then just opened up a gap. Can he do that again? But at the moment, Burton's going with him. Got to give it to Burton. Lap times have been pretty close, but he's definitely trying to see if he can just close it up. If we look at the last time, 18.9, another one to 18.8 from Burton. So he's there, and I think he's definitely applying a little bit of the blowtorch. Not close enough to apply it, but he's there. He's making Phil Self think.
Yeah, and that's all you need to do. You know, he's obviously got some sort of idea in the back of his mind about how and when he's going to pit and what he's going to do. But that's what you need to do, is just apply pressure and just move around. You can see there's a car off in the infield there.
It's Luke Mitchinson.
I don't know if there's been an engine drama or if he's got contact. Looks like he's missing the rear wing. Looks like he could have some damage to that left front as well. So obviously not ideal. We didn't catch what happened, but bad luck there for Luke to be parked on the infield there.
Yeah, he's had a massive off unless he can't escape. So there obviously no escape rule. So we obviously will be trying to get information on whether he can escape. If his car has died and can't get it back going, this could. I don't think it'll bring out a safety car.
Yeah, no, he's out of harm's way. He's on the infield there, but obviously he's spoken to the officials and they've given him clearance to escape. But yeah, bad luck for him. That's obviously not the way he wanted his race to turn out.
I was hoping for a safety car then. I was like, can we just that would have actually been, just mix it up a lot.
You don't. Phil Sell's not.
Phil Sell does. Everyone that heard me just say safety car, I went, you what now? I'm like, no, it's all right. I'm just teasing a little bit, you know. a little bit of a mix up in the strategy would have been really cool to see, especially this early on, to see what they would have done. But Phil Sell out in front, I think he responded last lap, got a couple of tenths quicker than Burton did out in front. Now just trying to see if he can bridge that gap.
Yeah, and I think the credit with the safety car obviously is, the nature of this racetrack where there's, the chances of getting a safety car around here are pretty slim, but you just never know. As we see, TTR car just was thinking about a move. Looks like they've got a little inter-team battle there. So all three TTR cars here, they're just weighing each other up. They don't want to hold each other up too much. And of course, Lee Ellis, he had his fair share of dramas in race one. Of course, we saw on our Facebook page that he'd let us know that he had sound issues. He caught the sound much. He got some air there, just caught the gutter, and that got the car up on two wheels. Lucky to hold on to that. But yeah, sound issues for round one, which isn't ideal.
No, that is one of the worst things you want in sim racing. I think as we look at a replay a little bit further back now, was that replay of Lee Ellis. But one of those things you don't want in sim is having the no sound. That is one of your cues. It's one of your mental cues. It's such a big factor, and people go, "Oh, it's just sound. You just drive it through your hands." No, it's or your feet, or as I think Stenberg, a little bit of a bump nose, maybe got a little bit of the back of Ellis already, but he is looking to have a go. And Myers is behind him too. Our opening round winner has got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it looks like Ellis might be struggling a little bit. I mean, and of course, these guys have got the opportunity to work on their setup between races too. So whether they've tried something and it hasn't worked or not, but obviously these TTR guys, they'll all be in conversation with each other, and if they're holding each other up, they will probably switch each other around. But we'll just see how that all plays out.
Yeah, see if there's going to be a little bit of team orders, as say, of maybe switch around. A lot of the time, the boys just let them race and have at it. Myers having a little look to the inside, just letting Stenny know he's there. Not able to be close enough to make a dive down into turn one, but these guys take a lot of curve compared to the car behind it. Just Hobson, they took so much curve out of turn two. A lot of these guys too well in there, but out in front, Burton's, he's there. Half a second, they've really dropped down, and Warren, though, I don't think they have the pace to keep up with these two.
Yeah, I think they're happy just to ride around at the moment and see how this race plays out. They'll obviously keep an eye on the top two, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of communication in between teams, and especially within TTR. They've got a number of cars that are in this series from the TTR stable, so they'll all be talking, and whether they need to let Warren pass, whether they feel he's faster or not, they will. But, at the moment, it looks like they're pretty happy to hold station and just see how this all unravels. It's only lap 10, so still plenty of time.
Yeah, still plenty of time to see whether they're going to try and make up any ground or try and do anything in terms of their strategy. And one of the ways that we can actually get that in terms of strategy is bringing in their own spotter, the person that they talk to and get all their strategy from, and that is Brock Salmon. Brock, obviously, strategy for these guys, for all of you boys at TTR, there are so many of them out there. How are you guys managing that? Obviously, you've got a good little battle pack with Ellis, Myers and Stenberg all together, but how are you obviously managing Down and Warren out in front?
For the most part, we're just letting them race at the moment. and just seeing how everything turns out.
Yeah, I think that's. We were just saying that. We were definitely thinking of you guys just seeing how it plays out. Do you think Down and them are going to change anything from race 1? I know you're not going to give too much away because I know everyone else will be listening to see, but is it just a wait and see what the boys do out in front, or do you just change what you stick? Because obviously you ran very long in the opening race.
We were pretty happy with the strategy. I don't think we were going to get anything better than third.
Yeah.
But we made some setup changes between races, and at the moment it seems to be working out a little better.
Oh, it's good to actually hear that you guys actually made some big changes, or just little swings that you just needed to try and see what would work, or stuff that you guys have already worked through during the week.
Well, for the most part, Madison was running on just a modified qualifying setup, so some big issues with that, and so he's just corrected that in the warm-up between the races. So.
Now, we know you're busy, Brock, and we appreciate your time, but before you go, what is it a huge gamble when you try a setup change? Because if it doesn't work for you, it's a long race to sort of find yourself slipping down the field. But is that something you take into consideration before you make those changes for the second race?
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's also, Madison's been around for long enough. He's got a pretty good idea of how to set these things up. So he's not going to he's going to turn the car upside down to try and get a bit more pace.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the factors as well. Go on, Sam, man, if you've got
I was going to say exactly right. And look, at him move up the inside. Looks like Myers is going to think about the move on Ellis. These guys will give each other plenty of room. Looks like he's on the outside of the racetrack, though. So again, side by side, these TTR cars all giving each other plenty of space. But it looks like he'll get the job done now that he's got the inside of the racetrack.
Yeah, good job there, and thank you, Brock, as well, for coming up for TTR. Give us a little bit of an insight, and so now good luck as the boys are fighting hard here. Good luck for the rest of the race. Good luck as they break contact.
Guys. Oh, I know it's Stenny's birthday, but I don't know if you'll get away with that too much. I know the boss will have something to say about that, but that was contact all very close there as Hobson made a look at the move at the inside as well.
Oh, definitely going on. Good luck for the rest of the race, Brock. You might need to go have some words.
Yeah, sounds like there's a bit to manage down there.
Thanks, Brock. For joining us. It was a good hard battle there from those boys, going constantly on down there. Oh, it was all on for those boys.
Yeah, I feel bad now. It's not obviously the right time to pull Brock out, but we didn't know that was going to unfold the way it is. But yeah, they'll communicate between each other, but it's really fun. Oh, sideways, there goes Ellis. A big slide. He's managed to hold on to it. That could have gone pear-shaped and off onto the gravel, but thankfully, he's only given up a spot or two.
I only gave up a spot to Luke Rosella, but that was sideways, wow. And he did very well to hold on. Another one of the TTR cars, I think it was Myers, having a massive brake lock. He's done well to stop over there as we look at a replay of that, and it was just, it was one of those moments where you look at him, just not much you could do. Was it off the curb that he got it? Oh yeah, it was just off the curb. Maybe dipped it off in the left rear just a little bit too much in the grass, but a good job to save that from Lee Ellis.
Absolutely, heart and mouth stuff there. I mean, that was brilliant. That was a ripper. But thankfully, like I said, he only dropped a position or so he didn't end off in the gravel, but that could have been a lot worse. We touched on it just before we spoke to Brock, that I said his car looked like he wasn't quite happy with it. It's moving around a little bit. So now he's obviously hurt those rears, and will he think about a pit stop possibly?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see whether Leo decides to come down pit road. It was good actually to hear from Brock, even though it was the worst timing as it all unfolded to bring Brock in. But just to hear that Down obviously wasn't really not overly happy with his cars. We've made a little adjustment to see what he can do. So I think that'll be telling towards the end of the race whether he's maybe made it just to hold on to the tyres a little bit more, and maybe he still plays that same strategy call.
Not bad, isn't it, when you're not overly happy with your car and still walk away with a podium? I'll take that.
I wish, yeah. Where's that? I need that. I need to find that magic button.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of data. Obviously, one of the TTR cars off in the background, they're making a pit stop now. So Hampstead's decided to fire in his TTR Mustang. He's put some lights on and into the lane. So it'll be a quick stop. They'll think about here, what is it, lap 14 of 32? Does he take the gamble with tyres?
It's one of those calls of it's close of whether you actually would just put the tyres on it. We know in race 1 he didn't, and he had a 5-second time penalty waiting over him. Is it going to be just no tyres? I think it is going to be tyres for Richard Hampstead.
One of the cars off into the
that's
gravel.
Brad Ryan.
Wow, we were just talking his stocks up about how well he did in race 2, and it looks like he may have made, you can see by tyre tracks, he may have made contact with that tyre barrier there.
If he didn't make contact with that tyre barrier, he's done a good job to keep it out, because it looks like he's gone all the way off in the grass. Has he got some damage to that left rear? Maybe a little bit, but it doesn't look, it looks still pretty clean. We'll have a look at a replay on that.
That's what Ellis had.
Yeah,
into the tyres.
Massive contact to the wall. Yeah, same incident pretty much, just that I think it was so far gone to fly.
How's the wheel work?
Woo!
Yeah, he had his hands full. He's going to be careful now what sort of steering damage he might have got from that, because it was obviously decent contact with the tyre barrier. Heartbreaking stuff. It was obviously running in the top 5, and like we said, he had such a great run in race 1, as you can see. Jake Maloney now into the pits with the other TTR car, so it looks like they're all starting to fire in now. But yeah, heartbreaker for Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan was so as he comes in the pit lane, I think that was definitely it. Yep, let's reset, come in the pit lane. This is sometimes the thing, you make a mistake, you come in the pit lane, you just reset. Okay, new stint, forget what just happened and go again.
You see the margin between Phil Sell and Burton now. It's still staying at around 4 tenths. I think Burton would be pretty happy with this. Does he think about pitting first though? I mean, I guess he wants to mirror what Phil Sell does. Does he want to take that charge, or does he even want to take the gamble of not taking tyres this time, Mike? Because we said, we touched on it earlier, for race 1, Phil Sell and Burton both took tyres. So, if Phil Sell doesn't, or Phil Sell does, I mean, does Burton take that gamble to get that jump on him? I can't wait to see when they decide to pit and what strategy they decide.
I think it's definitely one of those cases of what does Burton do? He is obviously a lot closer than he was in race 1. He had to work his way to get around Madison down to get himself into P2. We're at that halfway stage where some of these guys did pit. Does Burton decide to peel off first? No, he doesn't. So coming up to lap 16, this is going to be the halfway mark. This is where we saw a lot of cars last race, didn't we, Sandman, come in the pit lane and get their tyre service and go from there.
Absolutely, and I'm no race driver. I think that's why I'm behind a microphone. But I think if I was Burton, I'd wait for Phil Sell to pit first and then do the opposite. If it goes long, and then obviously you don't want to take tyres because you need that fresh tyre advantage. But if he pits and puts on tyres, I'd definitely think about just a splash and go.
Yeah, I think it's the right call too. Maybe just try something different. It's the only way. Burton has the pace. Whoa! That was an inside front from Richard Hampstead. Ethan thought about the move, but backed out of that one, was not close enough to get the job done. So good job from Richard Hampstead to hold on to that position. But like we were just talking about, I think if you do it from Burton, I think he has the pace on all tyres to maybe hold on the run. I think he could maybe do it, but that we did see the tyre advantage was a good second. So it's touch and go.
I was just watching how polite Greg Galt was to not dive up the inside. I think I would have thought about it, but it probably would have ended up with a meeting with the stewards too. So smart, he just pushed on with it. But look, there's not much in it between these top 4. They'll all be thinking about their strategy. Man, look at this racetrack just as the sun's starting to go down. It's getting late in the evening here for race number 2. I'm just waiting. I'm on edge just to see when these guys decide to pit.
Yeah, it's iRacing always leveling up every time with the new racetrack comes out. They've done a fantastic job with this one, and now Burton looks like he's starting to close up just a little bit. Looks like he's taking a couple of tenths out of Phil Sell the last couple of laps, trying to close down the gap to Phil Sell. And again, we're going to have another grandstand finish that we had at Sebring. These guys are trying to put it on again. They didn't even come out. Oh, so there's a car in the fence off of turn 4. It's P number 33, trying to find that on my timing sheet, because that's Kobe Jones.
Ooh.
That could be a safety car. It's not in a bad position. The inside of the track was okay, but that could bring it out.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I think depending on whether he can get it started and off we go again, he may just get approval from the stewards just to get out, but we didn't quite catch what happened to him. He's obviously got some damage to the back of that thing, so not ideal, but race control. No, there we go.
Safety car is out, and this changes everything.
Everything.
This is
5 remaining lap.
It's I'm trying to catch a replay of what happened, but yeah, this is his. Oh, he's had help. Wow.
Was that Ryan again at the same? Was that?
Oh no.
But
well, that's going to be tough. It looks like maybe some net code might have played some issue with him too. So
yeah, you can't. Yeah, and he was in the boot. He was in the boot before, sort of with the way it was. You couldn't really do much about it, I think, Ryan. But that has brought out the safety car. As everyone's come in pit lane.
Absolutely.
All the leaders, and they're putting tyres on it. They are putting tyres on it. There's no if, buts, or maybes with that. Who is the first car out? And that would be Richard Hampstead, and these guys are going to come across the line. That's Josh Anderson as well. Remember, no tyres from early on, and he's going to move himself up into P number 4 as we look at all these guys funnel out. Obviously, manual safety car. So these guys will be allowed to do their pit stops, get back in the circuit. As we look at that beautiful Aston Martin safety car out in front, leading the field, is first time we've seen it this season. I don't think it will be the last, but here it is.
Absolutely, a gorgeous looking race car. Great to have the Logitech G support up the side of it too. It's so good to see it. Obviously not ideal for the guys and the teams that are racing in this race to see the safety car, but yeah, it's great to have it. It looks the part, and it's obviously something new to the iRacing service too. But now it all plays out. These guys have got fresh tyres. I don't think it's good for Anderson. He probably wanted this to play out because he didn't want to see a safety car. It looked like his position was good. Like you can see how much gap he's made, but now these guys all around him have got fresh tyres. Look at that tyre damage that he's got. 18 laps.
Yeah, and I think he hasn't put tyres on it. So 18 laps in his stop, even though he came in on lap 1, that was for fuel only. The other 3 behind him, they all have tyres. Warren, Maloney and Hampstead. Ethan Grigault is the next car that actually has only fuel only, and he pitted on lap 5. So there's a lot of cars in this sort of leading top 10. I know Jordan Ross is just on the outside in 11th. He actually has no tyres either. He came down on lap 1 as well. So there's a couple of guys in here that are going to be fighting to try and hold on to their positions, and they have every right to be. They're there, Sam, man. They're allowed to be there.
Absolutely. And you know, that's just strategy. You know, sometimes it goes with you and sometimes it goes against you. So, you know, these guys have held out. They've got the safety car. They've got the fresh tyres on board. So it's really going to be such a frantic pace to the end just to see who can get the job done. But from what we've seen so far in this race, or for both races, actually, the battle between Phil Sell and Burton has been pretty strong. So I imagine that these guys will be fairly happy that they've got fresh boots underneath them, and it'll be between these two as it goes on, depending, I guess, on how the restart pans out.
Well, yeah, and as well with the restart, we know what it's always the famous words in every motorsport: safety cars breed safety cars.
Yeah.
Could we get, could this be another one after here? Depends on how hard these guys race. They know it's a sprint race now. There's not that many laps to go. They know they're just going to be, it's all out attack. There will be no saving tyres, because some of these guys could have just closed it down a little bit. Didn't need to push 100% back first in. You're going to have, that opening strategy to maybe come down, get some tyres or not, that played into it, Sam, there. But now they all have tyres out in front, especially the top 3. They can push hard.
Absolutely. I think I would have loved to have seen how this was going to play out without a safety car, because Anderson took that gamble, and look at the positions that he's made. Like, to be up in that top front now, obviously the hurting part factor for him is the tyres, but nevertheless he's got some TTR teammates. They'll all be in discussion about, you know, how and that's going to play out. But mate, once this thing goes green, it's a sprint to the end.
It is going to be a big sprint to the end. I think once we go green, I don't know whether we're going green this time. If we go green next time, it'll be roughly 12 laps to go. So with 12 laps to go, it's all out attack, and these guys will not let up. I know Phil Sell will most probably it will go, and Burton will try and go with him. But if Burton can get a good enough exit out of the last corner, he could have him in the turn 1 and try and overlap him. We've seen that happen before in numerous other racetracks. Obviously, Winton's a little bit different, but you can try and do it and make a run of it.
Absolutely, and it's almost, I mean, take the track out of the equation, but you know, we had the Phil Sell battle like this last time with Burton. So these guys know each other, how each other race. They obviously put on a great battle at Sebring. Things didn't obviously work out for either of them. None of them, as much as the laps that they led, they never got to the checkered flag for first. But yeah, these guys will be going hell for leather, and they know they can leave nothing on the table. This is race 2 for round number 2, and it's all going to come down to these closing laps.
as we look at a drone cam of these guys coming down, all behind the safety car. There's this cool shot, a full field of cars running all the way down. A couple of cars, one car in the background into pit lane. I'm sure they're just trying to maybe get some tyres or top up fuel. And I wouldn't say top up for fuel, but definitely tyres, maybe just seeing where they are in the strategy, go, okay, I haven't gained anything, let's put some full fresh boots on it and go from there. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see the safety car, no official word yet of whether the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, but it'll be roughly 12 laps to go once we get going. And Sam, man, I think we're going to be in for a grandstand finish again.
Yeah, again, thankfully I'm up in the commentary box today and not behind the wheel, because you'd be sweating bullets at the moment, especially those guys up the front, but they are comfortable with their car setup. They look like they've got a really good car underneath them. You know, the pace that we've seen from Phil Sell and Burton, it's been clinical for those guys, and you know, I think they'll obviously have a fair idea of where they're at and how hard they push, and you know, obviously towards the end of this race you don't care about your tyre wear now, it's just use what you've got and see where you come out at the end.
That's exactly it. Safety car is in at the end of this lap, so Phil Sell will take control coming into the last couple of corners and will decide when he wants to go green. They'll get the green flag from, so the safety car is going to move away and it's going to drive away from the field, and Jared Phil Sell now has full control over this race restart. And this is where it's like, how does he manage this? The first safety car of the season, and it is all down to Jared Phil Sell in front.
Yeah, and the beauty is he can go whenever he wants. He's just going to take his time. Does he come out of the last corner and then go? Does he wait till he gets to almost to the start finish line and then go? It's totally up to him. There's nothing in the rule books to say when he has to go. So it's all going to come down to this restart. No doubt he'll want it as clean as he can. And let's see where he goes.
Let's see what he does. So you kind of let's see what he's going to do. He's already gone. He is already on the money.
Burton.
But lost it coming out the last one. Green flag back underway here at Winton Motor Raceway for race 2 of round 2 of the championship. And Phil Sell, what a start. He got the jump on Burton, left Burton sitting out in the last corner.
Yeah, it's tough too, so those tyres wouldn't have been up to temperature. He's just got on the throttle, got a little bit sideways and gave that margin to Phil Sell, so he'll be happy about that. But now that gives Down a chance. You know, he's not that far behind. You can see the TTR cars. Ethan Warren now right up behind Anderson. Looks like a bit of a TTR freight train there. All these guys are right in it towards the end of this race. So it's gonna come down to these closing laps. They don't want to make a mistake. You can't recover from a mistake now.
Yeah, you can't make any sort of ground back if you make one little error. As we look at this turn 6 curb cam, all the cars funneling over the curb. As Anderson right now is that first car that hasn't got fresh boots on, and Ethan Warren is all over the back. We know they're TTR teammates. Warren has a little bit of a dummy to the inside, but again, he is hounding the back of that Cool Drive Mustang. He needs to get the job done, otherwise Down and Burton and Phil Sell are just going to keep skipping away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to see if they've got anything for Phil Sell. Phil Sell looks pretty calm and collected at the moment. Got off to a great start, like we said. And out of the turn, everyone looks pretty tidy. Of course, fresh tyres are your best friend around here or around a lot of racetracks. So they'll all be grateful of that. They know they can get on the throttle fairly aggressively when you've got fresh boots. So now it all comes down to just driving smart and seeing if they can make the driver in front of them have a mistake.
And we know how talented Phil Sell is, especially when he's out in front. He can control a race perfectly. And he did exactly that last race. Can he do the same thing again in that Boost Mobile Racing Commodore out in front? As we look a little bit further back between the two SSR teammates, Ross and Burke on the outside of the top 10 at the moment in 11th and 12th, two teammates. And these guys will be hoping to try and get past Griffin Gardner to try and get inside that top 10. As it looked like Maloney, I think it was, or Hampstead was having a little bit of a block to the inside, just covering off that line. But Anderson is all under attack. There it is. And he didn't give him a lot of room on the inside. Warren going to be fighting side by side. Anderson with a great drive off of turn number 9 going down into turn 10 on the inside. He's got the preferred line through the corner, but Warren has the tyres. They've made contact on the exit. No room given, Sam, and these two are pushing each other.
Absolutely. Nice dive up the inside there. Looks like he's just going to leave Josh Anderson out. So smart, nice racing there. And don't let the colours throw you too. These guys are all teammates. Of course, Anderson's got his personal sponsor with Cool Drive on board, but having a great run. The safety car didn't obviously work out in his favour, but doing a great job holding on with those older tyres.
Yeah, trying to salvage what he can. He would have had a really good strategy call if it's stay green, because obviously moving his way up through the field, but now he's going to try and see what he do is Holson further back in 17th behind the birthday man, Kurt Stenberg, down. He's made his way up into 16th, doing a good job, seeing if he can try and hold on to that position as these guys funnel through. And man, it's just a big train at the moment. This is what we're talking about. We talked about this sort of, and as I say that, there's a car off on the grass. That's Jack Boyd. Was a little bit off in the dirt at turn number 4. Managed to rejoin, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, not ideal, but yeah, he didn't taste concrete, so that's the main thing you can push on now. So all these guys now, they know that they're coming towards the end of the race. It's time it's almost the money-making time now. They have to push on. They know what they've got underneath them. They don't have to worry about looking after tyres. They can just push, and they know how their car is probably compared to the other people around them. I think the one thing I'm a bit surprised too is that Madison Down is still holding strong in 3rd. He's only a second behind these guys. So as we saw earlier in the race, these guys did really pull away from him at the start. So does that mean that Madison's happy with the changes that he made between races, or are the guys up front just taking it easy? I don't imagine they'd be taking it easy in these dying stages.
I don't think they're taking it easy. They were in the 18.2s last time around, and now Madison Down, he's doing a very good job. He's matching him. Obviously, maybe that little bit of an adjustment has helped him. Burton obviously slid the car on exit. Burton just doesn't look as happy in this stint. He's not all over the back of Phil Cell, but he just doesn't look like a little bit of an exit. He had a better exit there off of turn number 4 into turn 5 with long sweeping left hand, and you just wait and wait and wait and wait, and then the car goes to you to turn right. It just looks like he's just not as comfortable in the second portion of this race.
Yeah, that's a terrific camera angle that we had before on the splitter of the car, because you could actually see where Burton was struggling, whether it's entry or exit. So there's not a lot between these guys. Of course, you'd love to be Phil Cell. Track position's everything in this race, and he is slowly starting to open up that margin. And does that mean that Burton's just got his eyes in the rearview mirror, keeping an eye on Down? I'm not sure. But what are we, lap 24 of 32? Oh, and look at this. They're side by side. Kurt Stenberg. Is he going to hold on? Yep, he's got the preferred line. Oh, a little bit of contact on exit there. Not giving an inch. This is a great little battle. Of course, he's going to be hung on the outside, though. So Freya's now definitely got position, and he'll get the job done up the inside.
Good job for Freya. Freya made a move on Hobson a couple of laps ago. I thought, I was waiting for another SSR car to make his nose prominent down the inside of Stenberg, but Freya's on the move. He passed Hobson a couple of laps ago, so he's made a couple of positions, moved himself up to 16th and trying to gain back what he could. As Hobson
has a sun glare.
Yeah, that's the sun right in your eyes as you head down towards turn 3. Sorry, mumbling over my words. As we're right on board with Brenton Hobson on the visor cam coming through turn number 4, and this is a great on board. We get to see, like you were talking about, Sandman, the amount of lock these guys put on. This corner's just wait. You wait, and you're waiting. You wait and put the throttle back on. You get it done, then you got a hard brake, and here it is. All these tight and complex. Yeah, so much lock.
Look at it. It's unreal.
It's just the amount that these guys have to put in, and it burns the fronts. And when you're in a train like this, it just burns the front. It does happen. You got to try and focus on trying to save those front tires. Look in that mirror on the right hand side, and all you see is Lee Ellis all over the back of Brenton Hobson trying to have a little look. Can't get the job done though. And again, down second gear corner, concentrating on the exit. Hobson just doesn't look like he has what he needs to have for his teammate in front of him.
So not long now to go, lap 26 of 32. Jared Philcell now got that margin out to nearly 7/10 of a second. Nothing in it. Look at those times. They're all doing 18.7s up the front. So they're throwing it at each other. But, mate, I don't know how they're going to have anything for Philcell. He looks like he has been in control pretty much from the drop of the green flag in race 1. So they're going to have their work cut out for him just to try and close that margin. But closing's one thing and then passing's another.
Yeah, that's one of the hard parts as we look back. Griffin Gardner holding down that 10th position. He has got Wayne Burke, who we said he had some pace to burn. We saw it early on in the first stint. He was very quick, and he's doing the same thing again. This is where he could set himself up for a dive down to the inside at turn 7. Oh, he had the pace to throw it down the inside, but he didn't do it. He thought better of it, just being patient, which we know Holberg is obviously very patient, just waiting to pick his mark, but he has the run. He could have definitely thrown it down the inside then, Seven.
Yeah, and like I said, it's too hard to recover from mistakes now, so the last thing he needs is a penalty or anything like that. Good heads-up driving. He goes, he's got a bit of a margin there. Nice. Look how much ground he makes on the brakes too. That's good.
he's definitely got a very good braking and turning car. From what it looks like from the outside, you can actually tell me it's better driving off, but from what it looks like outside, it looks like he has a good point, a lot of good point in that SSR Commodore, and able to get the car stopped quite nicely as well. As we look at Ethan Grigolt, and at the front of this train is Anderson holding on with no fresh boots on this car. He hit it on lap 1. He needs to try and hold on. He's got his teammate Maloney, obviously, like we said, different liveries, same team, just obviously Anderson supporting his Cool Drive sponsorship that he has obviously in real life racing, and Hampstead and Maloney behind in the TTR colours.
He'd be breathing a sigh of relief that he's actually got teammates behind him, because the last thing you want is pressure from behind when the guys behind you have got good tyres and you've got ones that are slightly older. I shouldn't say slightly, they're a lot older. So he's doing a good job holding on. Like I said, you can see on the margins there, he's made up 7 positions with that strategy. But plenty of movers and shakers. Look at Brady Myers, up 21.
Oh, as we say that.
Oh, no! Brady Myers has been involved. He made up 21 spots, but I think the stewards might have something to say about that, and that could take a chunk away from him.
Yeah, it was down the inside of Benjamin Smith. He was there, a little bit of contact made it, and that was it. He's had a shocking race today. I think Brady Myers could say he hasn't had as good of a run. As we have a little look at the replay down the bottom right. He was just trying to set himself up at the inside, and he got the job done. This is a hard move to make down to the inside, and just, half a dozen to one, half a dozen the other. We'll leave that up to the 24/7 race stewards. I'm glad I'm not steward. There's bit of boxing going on.
He's been fed some dirt there too.
Yeah, was that Benjamin Smith again, or was that another one of the EIT Commodores? I think that was, I think it was Smith again getting fed out as it was, and now he's dropping back into the field. So not a nice lap. Lap 27 will be one to forget Benjamin Smith.
Oh, it's not over too. These guys are battling out. Oh, thankfully they didn't try any side-by-side through there. As we're in the dying stages of this race, plenty of action heating up throughout the field, especially here on the pack here. These guys, and that's what I love about this, is they're not giving an inch. They don't care if it's for 20th position. They're all in it for the... Oh, look, there's a car sideways back there.
Was that Smith again around? I think it was.
It was.
Smith.
Unreal.
Oh, he's had a shocking last couple of laps. Who got him this time? Well, I shouldn't say who got him, but who made contact with him?
It was the slightest of contact.
There was nothing in it, and it just turned him around. And that was enough to pitch the car sideways and put him around, and I think out of the racing before this year is Anderson.
Oh,
Maloney, here he is. He's got the preferred line down to the second to last corner, turn 11. Is Hampstead going to try and follow him through?
Yeah,
he is. Definitely going to follow. Now, this is the thing for Marcelo Rivera. Set him up for the turn 1. He's going to have a good exit. This could be the run. Marcelo Rivera may look to the inside. Anderson's going to block the line 7. He's going to cover it. Can he go to the outside? This is not where you want to go side by side. He's going to drop him behind.
Yeah, he's got his work cut out for him. He's battling on those old tyres, but his teammate swallowed him up. It looked like still covering his line there. It looks like that was Marcelo. So he knows now he's got pressure from these guys. Seeing once they start getting to nose to tail, they all get a little bit hungrier because they know that they can get an easy position.
They sniff blood in the water as soon as they see a car go past another one and they see them start to drop. They go, oh, I can get this spot. Let's try and turn them up a little bit. And that's what they were doing. Griffin Gardner. Oh, that was Burke with a late dive. Inside front locked. He had the inside front locked, and not much you can do but use the door of Griffin Gardner. Will he try and get that spot back, or is he going to hold on to it? He was there, but it wasn't that clean. But he got the job done, as now Maloney and Hampstead need to try and skip away from this battle.
Absolutely. So as we approach lap 30, we're in the dying stages of race number 2 here at Winton for round number 2 of the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. It's been a Phil Sell and Burton show pretty much for today, and I don't know that they've got much for him. You can see the margin is down to half a second, but they are now gapping Madison down.
Steady's dropping down the order. What's happened to Steady? Steady on his birthday has lost all the positions. He's down to 30th, Sandman. What is that? Oh, contact on the exit, and that's it. And he was playing in the weeds.
Don't know if he got contact or whether he just tried to get it turned in really tight and then it just got away from him underneath. Not sure, but yeah, a bit of a shocker. This will be a birthday to forget for this one, but nevertheless, we check out back in the front of the field, half a second. I don't think Burton's got anything for him. What do you reckon?
I don't think he has either, Sandman. I think Phil Sell has driven this race methodically. He has done everything he needed to do. He hasn't overdriven the car, hasn't overstepped the boundary, and has just done what he had to do, and that was go out and win the safety car, or go out and lead and comfortably try and concentrate on that. he needed to, obviously he's won the first race, he knew what the tyre life was going to be like, he came in and got tyres at the halfway point. The safety car was roughly around that same point, so it's sort of the same strategy for these guys. But the top four, I have to say, Down and Warren turned it up a notch because they're there. They might not be all over the back, but they have done a really good job. Whatever those two did in this over that warm-up period that Brock Salmon was talking about, how they've made a little bit of an adjustment to their cars, it definitely has helped them. As we look at drone cam with the top four coming across the line to start lap number 31 of 32. 2 laps to go here at Winton.
Yeah, definitely those changes that they made, they did work in their favour. They have tidied the cars up a little bit of side-by-side action here. Brenton Hobson, all sideways on exit. Look at the damage to the front of that Logitech G Supercar as well, because it looks like Galt's got his work cut off for him. Ellis is going to try and make a move up the inside. Is he going to get the job done? Hold your breath, don't want to bounce over that curb. He did a good job, he backed out of it, was worried about getting up on 2 wheels and making contact.
Yeah, it actually hurt Ian Ford behind. He had to actually back up. I thought Rosella was going to go down the inside, gave him a little bit of a bump, and Ellis has made a mistake, missed a gear maybe, because that looked odd. I don't think it was a slowdown, because he looked like he ran off, but now he's side by side with Rosella through this section of the racetrack. Sean Mcnamara watching breakthrough. We said started 30th in race 1, had a good little run. Currently now up there, Rosella down. Oh, he made it done, and a little bit of contact. We got the job done with Rosella on Lee Ellis. And now around the outside goes Chris Cox's head. Not going to get it done too much out there. Oh, he's giving him a bump back down the inside, but sideways. Not able to get the run. Here comes Chris Coxhead. He tried to cover the run, but he couldn't get it done. Coxhead to the inside as it's last lap for Jared Filsard in front. As the battle further up, Rivera's gotten around Burke. Going to hold on to that position. I think he was just trying to hold back on because Burke is having a look. He's gotten around Gardner. As we start the last lap, I don't think they have anything for Filsell.
No, it looks that way. He's done a great job this weekend for this round. I mean, he was untouchable in round 1. In round 1 it was a great battle between him and Burton, and then of course for race 1 here for round 2, he's been so strong. His starts have been terrific. He's done everything right. Whether or not the safety car played a big part, I mean, we saw that he took tyres in the first race, but he was able to regroup, put on fresh tyres, and then battle with Burton towards the end. And he hasn't done anything wrong. He's done a great job.
He has driven methodically, he has driven professionally and done what he needs to do in that Boost Mobile Racing Commodore. Coming turn to turn number 10 for the last time here at Winton Motor Raceway, for the first time in the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational for round 2 of the championship, and Jared Filsell has driven perfectly. He has done what he needs to do. Won race 1, he didn't get the pole, but it didn't matter. He got a perfect start on the outside of the front row, and Jared Filsell around the last corner is going to take out both races here at Winton for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational, ahead of Jake Burton Madison. Down as it's all kicking off there, man. What has happened here?
Well, they're fighting. Anderson's trying to hold on with those old tyres, so there was obviously a little bit of barging coming to the last couple of corners. Holding your breath for those guys. Not sure how all that played out. Thankfully, the stewards, they can have a look at that, and I don't have to worry about making the call for that one.
I'm glad I'm done after that, because we don't need another one of this. As we look at a replay of this, Anderson was in front, which he was on that last lap. He was doing a good drive. I have to
just trying to hold on, isn't he?
Yeah, props to him for trying to hold off on old tyres.
Oh, big dive. That was huge.
It was Burke, and Burke made contact with Anderson, and so we're trying to regather it up. Anderson was sideways, he was just trying to gather that car up, and they made secondary contact. But perfect drive from Filsell. You can't fault that tonight. Obviously, you can fault it. He didn't get pole position, Sam, man. That's the only thing he did wrong all night.
Well, you know what? If you're going to give me 2 race wins, you can have the pole positions.
He did a perfect drive, and I don't think we can fault him at all tonight, as he's going to burn him down in that Boost Mobile Commodore, taking out 2 victories. But again, I think we've got to give a good drive from Down and Warren, Sam, man, to make those little adjustments, and they were there in that race, second race.
Yeah, absolutely. And we heard from Brock saying that, Madison wasn't entirely happy with his car, and still to get 2 podiums tonight. Obviously, we spoke about the dramas and the misfortune he had for race 1. I think he'd be fairly happy with that. He was there or thereabouts, but just didn't quite have enough to close down the margin on Filsell, and there he is, just tearing up those Dunlops. You don't need them anymore. They're going to be coffee tables after this.
Definitely doesn't need them anymore. We're going to burn them down where Cameron Waters did last weekend. Going to burn them down over there there. At least he didn't go dirt tracking this time like Waters did, but a good drive there from Phil Sell to get the job done, as we'll look through our race 2 results here at Winton Motor Raceway. And Jared Phil Sell, as he burns him down, he is lighting those tyres. He's loving it. He's enjoyed this one, I think, tonight. Jared Phil Sell out in front, taking a masterful 2 race wins today here with Jake Burton coming home in second, who did a flawless drive as well. Madison down in third. Ethan Warren, Maloney, Hampstead, Rivera, Anderson, Gardner and Burke. Who knows what's going to happen there? Sandman, as we went to the rest of the field. Hobson had a really good drive. Ryan in 11th with Ross, Myers, Freer, and Hobson, as we said, rounding out the top 10. A couple of people, Kurt Stanberg further down the pack, he was having a good run, and then obviously all that went pear-shaped in those last couple of laps as well for him. But one safety car today, and that was for Kobe Jones after his incident that he had. But what a race, Sam, man. And again, they're turning it on for this Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational.
Absolutely. There were some question marks around how the series or any of the series go at Winton Motor Raceway. It's a tricky racetrack. It's very tight, but it levels the playing field for these guys because it's so new to the service. And I think for what we had for tonight, the 2 races, that really showed some great racing all the way throughout the field, up and down the field. So although as strong as Phil Sell was, it was still great racing and good to see the battles that everyone turned on for that top half of the field.
Yeah, it was awesome to see the boys turned it on at a track like we were saying, like you said, Sam. And we didn't know what this was going to be, but it turned out to be absolutely awesome. And let's bring in Jared Phil Sell. And Jared, well done. Congratulations on 2 race wins today. Tell us about your evening, because that was pretty faultless driving from you.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't expect that, to be honest. I was quite concerned with the car before the races, but it seems we hit the nail on the head with the setup compared to the other guys. Burton looked like he had a little bit for me in that race there, but track position's king, so notoriously hard to pass around this track.
Yeah, that's what we were expecting, and like we were saying, the track position, obviously when the safety car came out, it was just a sprint to the end. Is that what you guys you just knew that you just had to go it and not save any tyres and just send it?
Yeah, well, I was actually planning on coming in that lap regardless anyway, just to cover off any undercut. So that safety car was convenient, kind of evened out everything.
No, you said you were thinking. Sorry, Jake. I was curious that you said he was thinking about pitting on that lap. Was the thought there still to take tyres like you did in race 1, or were you going to go a gamble and go just the fuel?
Yeah, that's the talk of the team actually. We were looking at taking no tyres at all. But yeah, obviously if I took no tyres, that safety car would have burnt me completely. So, I played the safe card. Taking tyres, just racing the people who are around me. I don't really need to worry about anyone back in the field that are trying to get up and get track position. They're racing their own race. So, played the safe approach with just myself. Just racing the guys around me, basically. Just be smart about it.
Yeah, you did a perfect job of that, I have to say, and did what you needed to do to get both race wins. Obviously, no pole position, but like Sam said, you'll take 2 race wins any day. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out? Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go and get ready for Red Bull Ring in a couple of weeks' time?
Obviously I'd like to thank Boost, continued support, Erebus as well. Also thank Brody. He jumped in between the races there, even though he's over the other side of the world at the moment. So thanks, Bush. He helped me out during the week a little bit with the setup. He did a lot of driving before he raced here, IRL, so he would have been a force to be reckoned with. I could not match him at all. In the lead up, I couldn't get close to him. So happy to get the 2 wins there. Certainly trumps the P3 that I had at Sebring. So
it definitely gets you a couple of better positions up on the grid when you think about that. But well done, Jared. Flawless driving all night. Congratulations on that, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Red Bull Ring. Thank you. That was Jared Philsell. We'll hand it over to Sandman and Jake Burton, who again just didn't have it there for Philsell at the end, but flawless driving as well from Burton.
Yeah, not wrong, Jake. Well done. That was a great battle between you and Jared. Mate, there wasn't much in it between the both of you all night, regardless of race 1 and 2.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think race 1, I didn't really have a chance because I think Mads like held us up pretty bad. I had a sort of 2.5 second deficit to Jared, and then I tried to strategize my way out of it, and it just didn't quite work. So I was never gonna beat Jared in the first race, but I think I had half a shot in the second race. He was just, honestly, I feel like our set was really good. We had good degradation. I just wasn't as consistent as he was, to be honest. I was just making too many mistakes, wasn't hitting the curbs right at 1 and 2. Even had I been more consistent, this track's bloody hard to pass on, so I don't think I would have been able to do anything with it. But yeah, definitely he was the man to beat tonight.
Now, obviously, you're famous or notorious for everything that happened for the opening round at Sebring. It's nice to bounce back with some consistency and a couple of good results there. But were there any concerns coming into Winton, as it was a bit of an unknown because it's so new to the iRacing service?
Yeah, I actually had this conversation with Brenton before the race. It's a really difficult track, and I've noticed this driving here in real cars even. It's not a track that, even when you do a good lap time, it doesn't feel fast. So it's really hard to sort of get a gauge as to, you know, whether you're doing a good or a bad job. So when we came out in practice and did a fairly fast time in the session, which was the first time all week I compared to anybody, and then, you know, obviously qualifying was decent. I had my last lap cut short a little bit. I knew we had pace. I just didn't quite have Jared's consistency. I think he was just handled himself really well tonight. It was hard to beat.
It was a nice bounce back, mate. The car looked good on track. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank before you prepare, I guess, for Red Bull Ring? Are you looking forward to that too?
Yeah, I had a fair bit of pace there in V8 Scops a few weeks ago, months ago, can't remember. And E-Series last year we were pretty quick there as well, so pretty excited to have a run there. Suits my racecraft a little bit more, I think, with the drafting and that sort of thing. So it should be some fun. But yeah, huge thanks to VRS, Next Level Racing, and of course Alex and Griffin from Vendaval for their help tonight. Really appreciate it, boys. Thanks.
Well done, Jake. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for Red Bull Ring. Jake, you're now having a chat with Madison.
That I am sitting here with Madison Down, who had one of those races, started on pole. First race just didn't have the pace. We heard Brock talk to us in between that race too of turning the car up a little bit, try and find that little bit more pace, and it looked like you had that in the second race. Tell us about your evening.
Yeah, we had really good one-lap speed, but not quite there in race 1. We just had a little bit too much tyre degradation, so went backwards a little bit, which was a bit unfortunate, but yeah, had a feeling that we could improve it for race 2, and I think we did, but yeah, we still didn't make any more ground, but overall, pair of podiums isn't bad, and yeah, nice to get some points on the board.
Yeah, nice to get some points after disappointing Sebring. I don't even want to bring it up because all the boys said you had the pace, so it would have been awesome to see you up there. And we know you would have been up there fighting with them. But one of those things, was it just a little bit too much? Brock said you had actually the qualifying set that you ran, just a little bit of tweaks for race. Was that just why it burnt the tyres up too much in race 1?
Yeah, essentially that's accurate. We knew qualifying was going to be really important. Probably from a personal point of view, I didn't give enough effort to the race car, and yeah, about 8 to 10 laps into race 1 there, we started really falling off Jared quite aggressively, and I kind of knew why that may be, so we just using a lot of tyre up basically, which is, you know, what you want to do for one lap, switch the tyre on for that fast lap, which we did in quali, but we didn't probably settle it down enough for the race. So made a couple of changes there in between the races, did a quick test in the warm-up, and yeah, tuned it up a bit. We had a lot better pace in race 2. We were able to stay with Jared and Jake a lot closer throughout the whole race. So yeah, probably just need to do a bit more race prep, and just underestimated how important the race car was going to be here. We thought that the tyre deck wouldn't be as bad as what it was. So, but no, overall, yeah, fun event.
Yeah, definitely looked like a good race out there. And a little bit of words heading into Red Bull Ring. How do you think you're going to go there? Obviously, it's open. There's going to be a lot of drafting. It's going to be massive there. How do you think you guys are going to fare?
I think as a team we'll go quite well. Personally, I've never really had a lot of success at Red Bull Ring, so I really need to delve into the data on Virtual Racing School to make sure that I understand exactly where my shortfalls are, because that track for me has been a big challenge in the past. So yeah, going to need to do a lot of testing and a lot of personal development basically to try and get my driving in check. So Yeah, it'll be a good challenge. It's certainly a fast-flowing track where draft is really important, but as a team, I think, we work together really well and we always put our cars towards the pointy end, so I don't see a reason why that would be any different at Red Bull Ring, but yeah, hopefully we can carry some of this momentum forward into that and get a good result there as well.
I'm sure you'll be on top of it as we head into Red Bull Ring. You're definitely not one of those guys that won't be up near the front. You'll be there. We know you will be. Any shout-outs, anyone you'd like to thank before you let go, Matt?
Just a big happy birthday to Kurt Stenberg. It's his birthday today. I don't think he had the ideal night, but yeah, we had a big happy birthday song happening before the race tonight, so big happy birthday to Stenny. But as always, thanks to everyone in the team. We worked pretty hard to get a decent race car tonight, and we had a fast car. We just missed the mark a little bit in the races there, but big thanks to all our sponsors as well: Virtual Racing School, Next Level Racing, X-Trim, Card Effects, and all the spotters as well. Brock was brilliant behind the scenes helping with that race, so thanks to all those guys.
Yeah, we thought about singing Stenny happy birthday, but I don't think anyone would want to listen to me, Sandman, sing happy birthday. So.
It was absolutely tragic from the team that way. So yeah, probably good decision.
But it was one of those things. We definitely gave him some shout outs, but he had a rough night out there tonight. But congratulations, Madison, and hopefully you have a good one at Red Bull Ring.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That was Madison down third place here tonight for TTR. And Sandman, what a race, what a bunch of races here tonight at Winton. And I think we weren't expecting that, but again, yeah, they turned it up for the Logitech G Pro Invitational, and we had some stellar racing all throughout the field.
Absolutely, and I think we've been able to take that away from Winton. Like I said, there was possibly some concerns with Winton Raceway about what sort of racing we were going to get, but the guys turned it on. There was great battles up the front, mid-pack and down the back, and that's exactly what we wanted. So hats off to everyone. It was a brilliant show, and I can't wait for Red Bull Ring.
Neither can I. I think Red Bull Ring is going to turn it up another notch for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. But that's all from us here for us here on Luke's with Luke as well. I've got to give a massive shout out to him. All the work he's done here behind the scenes for the Logitech G Pro Invitational. He has done an amazing job with all the cameras, and every week he keeps stepping it up. So massive shout out to him and all he is doing behind the scenes, and everyone else for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. It's been a pleasure to be here. Myself, Jake Blackall, and alongside me, Stephen Sandman Clark. We can't wait to see you in 4 weeks' time as we head to the Red Bull Ring, where it's going to be chaos again. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, another great night of racing. As expected, there were some great battles throughout the field. If anything, we now have more questions than answers as to how this championship battle will be won. But next we head to the Austrian high country as the teams and drivers pack up and head to the famous Red Bull Ring. It's a track that is perfectly suited to these incredible cars, so be sure to catch on all the action for the next round. In the meantime, head to our Facebook and webpage and be sure to catch episode 2 of our podcast. I'm Priya Richards, and you have been watching the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational Series.